That's all right.
Then I will reply to her.
I believe, by the way, the board's asked, we always do, what's your name and what's your address?
Cindy Lottie, 8016 Windale Drive, Williamsburg, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Yes, if you want to provide those to Nancy, that's fine. Later. Okay, anybody else, any other public comment? Brian?
Yeah. Brian Kelly, Ridgecrest Road. I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight, about the proposed two-meeting format. We've been discussed 2 meetings a month. And I talked to a lot of people about this and have a range of opinions, and I've sort of gone back and forth on it. I think Tom proposed it originally as a better alternative to special meetings. I've heard very persuasive arguments from Doug and Paul on the virtues of what has gone on for decades in Acme. I've seen this board move very, very quickly when the need has arisen for special meetings. Something comes up, special meetings have worked very well. I think that method has worked very well in the past, could work well in the future. I was looking at the resolution there, and one of the stated reasons for the 2 meetings a month was to move a bit more quickly on certain items. And one of my concerns about trying to move more quickly is that when we try and move more quickly, we tend to create errors. And we have this millage thing tonight, and obviously a simple administrative error there probably will never, ever happen again. But it sort of raises the question of when we try and do more in less time, we tend to make more mistakes. If we do decide to go ahead with 2 meetings a month, one thing I would suggest is perhaps we do this for a trial period, maybe to the end of 2014. So maybe it would be a resolution that we would do to the end of the year, and then that resolution would have to be renewed to continue that in the next year. So at that point, you can have some discussion about how well this has worked. Would it be better to go back to special meetings, as an alternative approach? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Do you have those documented? Do you want to provide them?
No, I don't.
They will just reflect what we can capture in there. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll move on to approval of agenda. I do have one item, and I came up the other day late. I've not asked the board for approval of junk fuel computers. I think we ought to put that on the agenda just so we have it documented. We've approved that. That would be new business, since it's not on there. New business 6. Yeah. Is there anything else anybody wants to add to the agenda? Okay. Ready?
You passed out in the packet, this Acme Township error, yada yada.
Right.
But I don't see it on the agenda.
It's going to be the first thing when we talk about the millage on the fire.
Okay.
I'm going to cover that right up front, and then we'll go on into the fire.
So it's part of new business 3,
Yes. Yes.
3.
Yeah, it'd be the first subsection. Yes, thank you. Anything else? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the agenda with corrections.
Motion to approve agenda with the addition of J6, discussion of disposal of old computers.
Support.
Support by Jean. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Inquiry as to conflict of interest. Anybody? Hearing none. The consent calendar. I'll read that tonight. Consent calendar. The purpose is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together for one board meeting. Motion, roll call vote without discussion. A request to remove any item for discussion later in the agenda from any member of the board, staff, or public shall be granted. Receive and file treasurer's report. B, clerk's report and balance sheet. C, draft unapproved meeting minutes. Sub C, A, Planning Commission of 7/14/14, and B, of Zoning Board of Appeals 7/23/14. Item D, Parks and Maintenance Report, Tom Hinkle. E, Planning and Zoning Report, Lennox. F, Metro Fire Newsletter of July 2014. G is a letter from DNR on the public shooting areas in Grand Traverse area they're proposing. H, Road Commission Resolution to support need for additional funding, state funding. I, letter from Planning Commission to DEQ on changes in oil, gas, and mineral rules. For action, consider approval of Township Board regular meeting minutes, I guess, yeah, of 7/1/14 and special minutes of 7/22/14 meeting minutes. B, accounts payable prepaid of $11,953.43 and current to be approved of, I don't have that number, I'm sorry, what is it? Current to be approved of $69,942.64. Since that's not on here, that will probably have to be added. Okay. I already have a notion, that's the consent calendar as read. One item I already put on here to be removed down from there is special board 7/22/14. And that's me. Okay. Amy,
Treasurer's report, please.
treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, there isn't a, Lennox does not have a report.
There's not one in here?
No.
Oh, okay. I appreciate you telling me, I didn't notice that. Okay. So that's stricken out. Okay.
Yes.
Treasurer's report, okay. Kathy?
And I would like to remove the revenue and expense report.
What number is
Revenue, expense.
that? Yeah, but what, D1?
One,
Clerk's report and balance sheet under B, 1B.
yeah, one.
It's just the revenue and expense
Okay, got
portion
it.
of that. Anything else? Anybody?
Yes,
Jean?
I want to remove the letter from the planning commission to the DEQ, question on that, which is H.
H is road commission resolution. You talking about I?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, H is,
road
H is the
commission.
No, wait a
letter.
minute, I have the wrong one.
Gee, I
Mr.
think
Supervisor,
yours
your agenda has the planning and zoning report on it, and it listed, and that is
I didn't
not
have.
there,
Is
so.
there an I did not have an update. Oh, is there an updated agenda? I did not get it.
You didn't have that one.
Oh, yeah, let me see what you got.
It is
Oh,
H,
okay.
right?
Just tell me what it is and I'll choose it.
It's H on mine.
Okay, I'll just put it up.
No, it's from planning commission to DEQ, it's Marcy's.
That's I on mine. Okay, I got it. I got
All right.
it. Marcy's. I got it. Okay.
Nancy, it appears that we have two of them floating around. We need to make sure we're all on the same one,
And then things get changed every 5 minutes, so
because
I will make a better
Gordy's is
effort.
different as well.
Who's this?
Gordy's got an eye on his, and I do not on mine, which,
I do not on mine.
I don't know mine.
Somehow we missed that.
Website does not have
Okay. What do we want to do?
Well, I think you want to reconfirm that the agenda that is sitting in the thing and that's online is the agenda that you're working from tonight as amended by adding
And it does not have I on it.
J6. There is no I in the receive and file because there was no planning and zoning report from Nikki Lennox, which was D or E or something. And I don't have that from me, so I don't know which letter.
That was E originally.
So B is out and everything except that.
Any other items we want to move down to the consent calendar? Anything else?
I'm still not sure we're all working from the same.
Why don't I go get the new agenda over there for everyone? That's what we're using.
Okay, let's do that. I'll make sure. I apologize. Huh?
Well, the ones at the door, if you walked in, that is the corrected agenda.
I just printed one out before I came here.
It sounds like it matches that.
Oh, it doesn't, there's no eye on it.
There should be
Yeah,
an
we don't
I.
have that. Somehow it got taken off. I don't know why. The original had an eye on it. It did not. That's not what we published, so we'll have to go with what we published. I'm sorry. Everything's on,
Yeah.
really.
I got
Nikki's off, we have everything there, it's just that.
I just went up there.
You got an eye on it?
I apologize. Okay, so we have,
No, I haven't.
right now, 4 things moved down. Special board meeting, treasurer's report, revenue and expense, and item H. It was because of Nikki's report we had that in, that's all. Okay, did you change your accounts payable recommended? That has to go down there too.
I did change my accounts payable, but
It has to go down there.
then
Unless
yes.
it's on this, it's not
Yes,
on this one.
absolutely.
Oh, it is on the new one.
It is on the new one.
Oh.
So I do need to remove not only the revenue and expense report, but I also need to remove the
To-
accounts payable
To be.
to be approved.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the things moved off of it as presented now under the new, thanks Paul, on the new agenda without an eye on it and without the item E as originally was stated by Lennox report.
So basically, we're removing 1B, 1H, the special meeting 722, and the current to be approved. The accounts payable is fine though, is that correct?
The accounts
Prepaid-
payable part, it's the second part of that.
Prepaid is fine.
Yes.
Prepaid's fine.
Okay.
So we'll just move the whole thing and then discuss it. Okay?
Are you making that motion, Liz?
No.
Motion to accept the consent calendar with the following changes. We'll move for discussion, treasurer's report. See if I got this right. H, letter from planning commission to DEQ. And 2B, the accounts payable to be approved.
And the special board meeting of 7/22/14.
And this one,
That was the first item I.
And the clerk's report.
Accounts payable. 2B.
No, and 1B.
1B.
That's your revenue and expense. That's 1B.
Okay.
Okay? Is everybody on board on what we got off there? We still have confusion. Paul, you okay with where we're at?
Circles all over it, I think I've got them circled.
Okay, I just want to make sure because of that mistake, I apologize. Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any other question? Otherwise, we have 2A already on there, so let's move to. Let's do a roll call, Nancy.
Guys,
Yes.
Jenema,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes,
Ackerman,
Correct.
motion passed. Okay, we'll go down through the items removed one at a time. The first one we removed was a special board meeting in 7/22/14. In what you have in your package originally, some comments that were made by Brian were not there. They have been added now, so we just want to make sure they're added. Everybody's aware of that. There's no comment on it. We want to make sure you have that item. So I need a motion with that change to approve that.
So what's incorrect, what we were?
There was no comments on the original package.
Brian had additional comments.
He had
that
comments and they
had
did
been
not.
attached.
That's the 7/22/14 special board meeting.
So you just adding Brian's comments.
Right.
Motion approved.
second.
Motion's made by White, approved by, seconded by Amy.
I guess I'm still not following. What we have here doesn't have this comment.
In your
No, but you have a
packet,
new
in your
one.
stuff that you got tonight,
Okay.
It's here on the table.
Right here,
Updates on
that's
the table.
loose, that
Okay.
sitting loose.
Now I follow you. Let me find
Okay.
that first.
Okay.
Name.
There they are.
That's all was added, just to the comments.
Paul,
Okay.
you have it?
I have a motion.
Yep.
I have a second. Any discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, approve, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, no? Thank you. The next item is we move to Treasurer's Report, item 1A. Amy?
I just want to make sure everybody got the revised report that I had sent, that's dated June 30th. Because I noticed Doug didn't, so that's my only confirmation, that everybody has the one that says June 30th. Is that correct?
The balance sheet.
That balance sheet,
Treasurer's
my
Report.
treasurer's
Oh, I
report.
see.
Thank you.
See the other one. Okay. Got it.
June? June, okay. I don't know why Doug didn't. I just wanted to make sure, because that just made me nervous. Good. That was it.
Okay. Do I have a motion there to accept the Treasurer's Report or any questions?
Make the motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Support.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions on that? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For not spending money, so it's just a report. Thank you. Next item is 1B, Clerk's Report, and I think that's the revenue and expense sheet.
Okay.
There's a new one in front of you.
There's a new one in front of you. There, I had a work session today with the accountant in doing accruals. So therefore, there are added revenues in this report. The change is in the one on the very first page, under revenues. There were state shared sales tax amounts that were to be added. There was, because of the year end, and charter, cable TV, number 448000. And there was some escrow amounts that needed to be changed. So if you compare the two reports, there's income that's reported in July that needs to go into June, and that's what we did.
It raised the year-end final number up by about 130-some thousand because of what you said from your original report. Look up the bottom of page, it's page 3, is a double-sided at the bottom of page 3.
Oh, you're looking for the total.
Any question on that report? Paul? Or anybody? Doesn't matter who. Woody?
I don't have a question on the report, but it seems, you get the stuff beforehand, you look through it, and then it seems more and more we come to meetings, and something changes, and I don't have a chance to look through it. I'm not gonna sit here and look through it again. I don't know if that has to do with we're trying to get stuff out too early. I'd rather get it 24 hours in advance personally, but have it right, and get it 3 days in advance, look through it, think I'm all set, and then come here and try to reconcile the two reports. So that's just a comment for me going forward. I know there's some discussion probably a year ago or better about getting the reports earlier, but that's causing a problem where we're getting the wrong reports, especially on the financials. I think we need to work something out.
This past month with elections and special trainings, I wasn't able to schedule the accountant to come in. So August was a little pressurized And I am making note of that in my scheduling, so that, well, in this instance, I'm hopeful that I won't have to make those changes with this, that in mind.
Okay, no,
for my
I
scheduling.
understand, but just, especially in the financials.
Sure.
Those are the ones.
And it is year-end, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do I have any other questions on this? Otherwise, a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the amended revenue expenditure report dated 8/12/2014.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions on
I agree with Gordy. I'm a little uncomfortable approving something that was printed at 5:10 PM tonight, that none of us have had much of a chance to look over. I understand the few things you've mentioned, but none of us have had a chance to look to see
Sure.
what all's going on.
And
The one we
I
received
do
last week,
apologize for that.
we had a chance to look at. If we had questions, we could question that. This one,
I do.
obviously, it's 14 pages. We don't have time to go through that and question it when it was printed
Sure.
at 5:10 tonight.
If anyone has any questions, I have an open door. I'm usually here 5 days a
And
week.
I realize that, but when we get it at 5:10 the night of the meeting, I don't
Yeah,
think we can
just
properly approve it.
If I, and in response to that, just so you know, one thing that we have worked on, we spoke with Connie today to try to resolve this, because Kathy and I had talked about this, saying, okay, we've got to figure out how to make sure there's a better flow, there's a better whatever, and we understood the election. And in forethought of that, because we're going to have the same situation in November. We've got a big election, there's going to be a ton of absentees, we're going to have these other issues, and we have, we believe, resolved some of that,
Okay,
so
great.
hopefully you will not be faced with this again. Unfortunately, like she said, Connie couldn't come in today, so the journal entries that were done were basically revenues that were sitting there that we're entering into last year to close out those books for charter and for the state revenue that we hadn't received for June and August because of just the timing of the state. They sent it to our PO box. So then we had to do a whole ton of paperwork to get them to send it to a different address. And so that was some of the delay for the state revenue sharing for that money to be shifted, which is showing a huge surplus in the revenue side of things. Just so you know, that's what those two specific things were funds
Okay.
from that.
And I
But,
probably
no,
would
I
say if
understand.
it hadn't been so significant, these were not
No, I understand.
minor hundreds of thousands.
They're
of
not,
dollars.
they're big,
So,
they're big amounts,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
okay, very good.
Okay, any other comment on that?
Just a question, who here at the table has had a chance to really look at what we were given, what we printed at 5 tonight?
Well, obviously I have, because I was aware of what we were doing, and that's not fair to someone like you or following by the.
I just wondered who else could do it.
I specifically only looked at the areas that I knew were being shifted. So when I talked to Connie today, this afternoon, when I was here, we kind of went over the couple journal entries that were being done. So did I then cross-reference? No, not after I just cross-referenced the revenue side of things. So that's,
How do you handle that?
I don't know what you mean.
I haven't had a chance to look at the
Well,
numbers.
the basic two things, there's actually three, but the basic two things were 130,000 in state revenue money and the charter money that came in late. We wanted to get that in there for book closing. And everything else, other than, well,
I mean, we can table it.
that's fine.
I'd be more comfortable doing that than approving something that I've only had in my hands for a couple hours.
Yeah.
That's all.
With the significance of it, I mean, it's
It's
a
you said-
vast difference between what was originally printed and what is now printed. Not that, in looking at it, not that I'll find anything different, but I haven't had a chance to look
Sure,
at it to see.
absolutely. Were you willing to modify his motion?
Well,
Well, yes,
However
the consent calendar. Accept consent calendar.
No, just for the motion to approve the,
It's been so long, I forgot what my motion was.
motion to approve the work report with the adjustments, so we would just be tabling.
Make a motion to table the rest.
Yeah, I guess since I made a motion to table the motion that I made.
Or just motion to table this report.
Whatever.
Is that satisfactory with you, Amy? He's making the motion
Yes,
to table.
to table the clerk's report, or the revenue
Are you
and
gonna
expenditure
second it,
reports,
then?
and I will
Yeah, she
second
said.
it.
Motion to table, okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is H, Marcy's report. This is a report to the DEQ.
Just a question. When she wrote the DEQ, she said that the board requests 30-day extension, 30 days from the date of the letter, July 29th. How do we respond? Because our next board meeting is after that date. So do we defer to you, Jay, or if we ask for the extension, I feel.
Well, I think we Marcy's asked for it on behalf of the planning
Or
commission.
planning commission.
We
all right.
kind of approved her writing to them, which is appropriate. And I think we just let Marcy come back and say, did it get extended or not? There's nothing else we can do.
Okay, so that,
More information for us if they did ask for the extension. We'll see whether she got the extension.
So we still
Okay.
don't know if it was approved.
No, you probably never do, and what I know of it, the DQ, Jeff, if you ever ran into that where extension's been asked.
I would be willing to bet that they will not be extending it based on your request to extend the comment period.
That's what I've heard before, but
okay, and my
I'm
thought
not
is,
betting
let's say they
No, I
do,
bet
on that
we're
one.
not gonna be meeting
No.
in time to actually meet our 30-day request, so that was my point. Just-
So the point, well, I guess on that then, so let's say they do.
then Marcy will have to tell us, she's received something back.
And then we're not gonna, then we're gonna have to have a special meeting, and then we're gonna have to figure out how we're
Well,
gonna
we don't know what the
proceed. Correct.
extension is from and to, so
We
let's
only
say
asked for
it's.
30 days.
If I remember right from last night,
Yeah,
Jeff,
okay.
didn't she say that the hold on that was within a week or so?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out where
So-
that stands right now.
In
So it's,
retrospect, the vote's already been taken.
Okay.
I think we accept it for
all
that.
right, I just wanted to be sure that if we were granted that we responded, rather than just let
Yeah.
it drift off.
When I would look for Marcy as, with the, I think she did that as a, was it the planning commission? What was it? Yeah, but then she would bring that back to the planning commission anyway, not to us.
Okay. Because it did say that we, according to this, that the board of trustees
We
requested.
supported it, yes.
Okay.
Okay? So I have a motion to accept that as presented.
And I'll go back to Marcy and just make sure about that. That be okay?
Yeah.
Make the motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The last item is item 2B, and I think it's accounts payable to be approved, and Kathy gave us a number for that.
Yeah,
And
right.
what is that? The number went from 65,587.46 to 69,942.64. So
And
you want to
you have,
explain?
everyone has a paper with what the detail of those additions are.
Edit list of invoices like this, Paul. I'll get that from you. Were these just late bills?
Yes.
Motion to accept the approval of the $69,940.64 to be approved dated 8/6/2014.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Discussion. Do you have a question?
Yeah, what's the bottom one, what is that?
That is the new accounting assistant.
Now we know
Yes.
the name,
And
right?
then ask them,
Telephone.
okay. Just making sure I know what to do.
That's what one card in their telephone system calls. Okay. Any other question about that? We have a motion to approve, a second on that. This would be a roll call, please, Nancy.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
White,
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
motion carries.
Mr.
Supervisor,
Yes.
quickly, the DEQ website says the DEQ appreciates your input during the rulemaking process. The comment period is now closed and the DEQ is now evaluating all comments received. So I get it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the sheriff's report. Ken?
I had your sheriff's department stats for July. Numbers are up a little bit, people in town. We had 326 total calls for service. There were 17 traffic crashes, 7 criminal arrests with 3 drunk drivers, 44 tickets were issued. And just a lot of people around. Something that happened this last week is kind of peculiar. A resident of Topico Creek Drive was gone for only about 40 minutes. And somebody during that time had pushed in a screen and went in their house through an open window. They did a canine track north through the woods where they found 4-wheeler tracks. It went kind of out to Bates Road and it looks like they went north. So nothing was taken. I don't know if they scared them off when they came back home. To add to that, 2 years ago, they had a similar incident where someone broke in their house and only took food. So, don't know if it's related or unrelated, but and they picked all their apricots off the tree, so they're kind of mad about that. But, so if anybody lives up that way or happens to see a smaller quad, this is a pretty narrow track, not with a big quad, so it had to have been a smaller person to get through the window. It wasn't very big window, so I don't know if it's a kid or what, but if somebody sees something peculiar, don't hesitate to give us a call or, give me a message, an email, or whatever. If you see something that doesn't seem right.
It was a smaller quad?
That's what they're thinking. He said it's,
I live right there.
yeah, he said it's not a real wide track.
No, I haven't got a quad.
I don't know if it's like
No,
one
our
of those-
apricot trees didn't produce anything this year.
It's kind of disturbing. Happy to know that.
Sure.
The festival was held last weekend on Friday. You were out there. Do you have any comments? Anything good, bad?
Seemed good. It was a pretty mellow crowd. Traffic wasn't an issue.
Good.
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful. It was a good event.
It's good to know because it was some concern and then
I don't even think we got any noise complaints
Nope.
or anything.
No, man.
So.
I actually went out there and was in the middle of the, way up in the parking lot and couldn't even hear anything, so while it was going on. So it was pretty well controlled and managed, so.
I drove through the RV park. They were hoping they could hear loud.
Oh, but they
couldn't.
Well, good.
My wife was disappointed. She couldn't do
She couldn't hear it this time.
it. No.
Thank you. Anything else for Ken? Thank you. Appreciate it. Next is Paul Solomon. Paul?
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you here tonight.
Thank you, and it's a real pleasure, and I really appreciate the time on the agenda. I have a very short presentation, and I want to share it with you. Maybe you can just pass this around, I think. And first of all, just a quick background. I'm Paul Solomon. I'm the interim superintendent for TCAPS. Real honored to have that position for the year. One of the first things that I wanted to do, one of our main challenges this year is to have a millage again. This is going to be a different millage. It's an operational millage. And on reflection of the last couple of years, it was obvious that we didn't do a very good job of reaching out to townships, frankly. And so one of my initiatives was to reach out to townships. I talked with a number of folks, and they were very receptive to that. We really felt like we were at as many meetings as we possibly could have been at in these last 2 years, and some not very well attended, and then the reflection is you didn't get your message out. Well, this is a chance to try to get a message out relative to a different type of millage, an operating millage. So that's why I'm here. Again, I appreciate having the opportunity to speak in front of you. it's 5 slides, so it's very short, and I just want to start with a quick question for folks, and you might think about it for a second. What is the operational millage that we levy against your home or against your second home or your business? That's the question I have. Think about that for maybe 120 seconds, you'll have the answer. This is a renewal of that millage when we get there. First, really quickly, a district overview for people who don't sometimes comprehend what TCAPS is. We cover 300 square miles. We serve over 10,000 students. We serve, we print about 1,900 W-2s annually, which means that, as you know, we employ at some point during the year 1,900 folks work for our school system. We're the largest entity, if you qualify that as an employer or business, north of M55 other than Munson. And so it's a large entity, over $100 million in total operation. We are an awesome school system, and too often sometimes I think the last word or the focus on organizations, and you know that yourselves, focus on the challenging things that you have to deal with. We have a lot of challenges with 10,000 students and 15,000 parents and 1,900 employees. We're a group of humans that are not perfect, and we acknowledge that within our strategic plan, that we are always working to continuous improvement. However, the story of TCAPS is an awesome story. Again, how many students we serve from the beginning of a student's education, really prior to their kindergarten experience. We serve literally hundreds of preschoolers. We offer 160 preschoolers free preschool who come from disadvantaged homes. We also provide their transportation. Okay, that's the start of their experience, up through and inclusive of high school, where we're recognized for our advanced placement classes, early college, and dual enrollment classes. We save parents every year, annually, parents of seniors who've graduated, anybody who's been in our school system and has had a senior go through and earn college credit, over $2 million annually. That's a real benefit to parents of our school system. Here's another one. We have a third high school, Traverse City High School, that serves students that don't fit a traditional setting. And annually, we graduate somewhere between 35 and 40 students. It is very, very likely that not having an option at Traverse City High School, those students would not graduate. What then is their cost on society? They graduate, become productive members. If you ever want to have really see a wonderful celebration, go to the Traverse City High School graduation. They read their own stories. You will not go out of there with a dry eye. We have a fantastic organization, and I think sometimes that's overlooked by fly specking. And I just want to share that before I get into what is on the ballot. And it's really a simple message. We have a millage renewal on the ballot. The answer to the original question, first of all, it's an operating millage. Remember, again, it's not like we had the last 2 years, which was a capital millage. Those failed. This is an operating millage. We levy 0 on homesteads and 18 mills on non-homesteads. Why that's the case is a discussion about school funding that's complicated. That's the way it is. That's what the state determined as one of the funding mechanisms that we have to abide by. Originally passed in 1995. It was a 20-year millage. 3 times we've supplemented that with a Headley protection, 1 mill each time. It gets complicated. What we're asking is to renew what's currently out there. The bottom line is, if you're a homeowner with no business and no second home, you pay 0. If you own a second home or a business within Traverse City, you're currently paying 18, you'll pay 18 after. It's that simple. It's been in place like that since 1999. It provides for about 36% of our operating budget, and hence, we simply can't operate, we can't fully operate anything recognizable as a school system without this millage. If this millage were not to pass, not being able to operate school, we'd have to be back in February and incur costs of a February election. We talk about, you're going to have November, after having August, well, we'd be back to you in February, we'd be back again in May, we'd be back again in August. We wouldn't have a choice of not doing that. So that's one of the outcomes if it doesn't. What can people do? What my main objective here is to make sure people understand that this millage is on the ballot. We don't want anybody to be surprised. We're way out in advance trying to reach out to all the townships in addition to a ton of other meetings that we're going to be having. Share the information that this is out there, right? And I'm gonna leave some information with you, if you can have that in your township offices. We can also refer people to our website, the information's there, and let people know what this is, and the bottom line is it's a renewal, and to kind of share that with folks, and share where the information they can get more from. That's it really. Tuesday, November 4th, it'll be here before you know it. There's no increase, and we can't operate our district without it. And that really is the simple message that I want to share with you. Again, I really appreciate being here, and I want to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody from the board? Anybody from the audience?
What's the duration of this particular renewal?
This is a 10-year renewal.
Is it going to compete with that other issue that we turned down during things?
This is different than the millages that we asked for in the last 2 years. Those were bond
Correct.
campaigns that were capital in nature. We still have those needs. This does not address those needs. And hence, we as a school system will have to continue to find ways to address our long-term capital needs, and would probably be back again in a future date to address
So is
those.
this other bond issue going to be on the ballot also?
No, it is not. It is not. This is the only question TCAPS has on the ballot. To wrap up, please, I have an open door policy too. If there's anyone ever has any questions about TCAPS, wants to share any thoughts or comments, I really would love to hear them. And thank you very much for allowing us the time.
Next is Larry Inman's report. Larry, you made it back?
Evening. Larry Inman, just a couple things to update you on. One is that, as you saw in today's paper, there will be another ballot language question on the November 5th election for this year. It was something that came before the county board fairly rapidly that myself and other commissioners had concerns on, and that is to increase the current surcharge on your cell phone and your hard lines from 80 cents a month to support 911 services to $1.85. That difference is being represented in a needed revenue source for new equipment and new infrastructure that the fire, police, ambulance, and 911 system need for enhanced communications. There are parts of the county that we can't communicate well in, and some parts not at all. So we need new towers, we need new antenna systems, we need new technology. We need new technology in the 911 center because it's aged and old and hard to get parts for. So, you know, with the downturn in the economy and those kinds of things, it was hard for the county board to budget, access funds for capital, trying to keep services, you know, at a maintained level. And we did some reduction in staff levels during that period of time. So it's something that we thought, just to give you just, if I can, just a couple minutes on this thing. There was an legal opinion that said that from downstate that several counties got that said boards of commissioners can approve an increase above 80 cents, and it couldn't exceed $1.90 by just the vote of the board of commissioners. So that question was posed in front of the Public Service Commission and by the vote of the Grand Sheriff's Board of Commissioners, and the Public Service Commission said, no, you cannot do this. So all the legal opinions that were out there that said we could, the Public Service Commission either disagreed with or ignored. We still have an opinion out to the Attorney General, and he has not determined an opinion on this yet. I'm sure it's complicated. So that news came about 40 days ago. So, you might want to stay at the last minute, because Central Dispatch did not have time to meet on this, because it was July, they normally don't meet in July because the Cherry Festival and everything is going on in town. Janelle brought this in front of the County Board of Commissioners for consideration. It was the last date, time, and effort. It had to be done by Monday, September 11th, and approved so it can be delivered to the clerk on the 12th. And the previous week, we had a discussion on it, and it was a confusing motion. I understood the motion as we were going to move forward with the increase of requests to the public to go up to $1.85 per month, but it was subject to a public hearing that would occur at 9 o'clock in the morning on the next Monday. So we did have that meeting on Monday. And when we got there, the original understanding is that we only had a couple members of the public there. There was a lot of people that were there from fire, police, rescue, ambulance, and we do need this help. My only concern is that we really haven't had an opportunity to educate the public as to exactly how we're going to spend the money, the exact need, the detail behind it. And with 8 weeks left until the election, with a lot of unanswered questions, I was concerned that it would be another vote going downward. So that was my concern. I am in favor of increasing the surcharge as a user fee to help support 911 services in our county. But I am only in favor of it if it goes to the public and the public votes on it. To be honest with you, it's your choice. So, the motion on the floor on Monday was to not go forward with it because we just didn't have enough time to educate the public. We just didn't want this thing to go down for the second time. This thing got brought up like 10 years ago and got killed. So, it was a 3-3 tie. One commissioner was not there, the seventh commissioner, so it died of lack of support. Then the chairman said, well, what does this vote have to do with anything? We already voted at last Wednesday to approve the $1.85, and then I did a friendly amendment that we would have a public hearing on Monday. Well, my understanding was the vote would be subject to the public hearing date, and then we would make a final decision. Based on the interpretation of the attorney and the clerk, we had already made that decision. And I said, why are we having a public hearing if we've already made the decision? I thought it was, we were going to wait and hold on the decision until we had the public hearing and notify the public, at least give them some advance notice of what potentially could be on the ballot. So that was my disagreement, and pretty clear in paper where I stood on it. So I just want to let you know my only disagreement with it was the timing of it and the lack of time to educate the public. So the user groups, I will tell you, probably will be out in full force next month at all the township meetings and village meetings and city meetings. Jamel is in the process of putting together a fairly detailed report that she will hand out to all the elected officials and to the members of the public, that what the money would be used for and the need. So that's good. We just got a very short window to educate the public on this vote coming up on November 5th. So stay tuned. That information should be coming to you, and I hope that we get it out in time, and the user groups get out in time to convince the public that this is something that we need to do. Now, I want to make sure everybody understands here that this is the motion on the floor in the ballot language, which I haven't exactly seen yet because it's going to be delivered to the clerk tomorrow, but it was agreed upon in verbal language, was the Board of Commissioners would vote to go up to $1.85. So if we felt that based on the equipment needs for that year and those going forward, that we could go up to $1.85, but if we only needed $1, from 80 cents to $1 or $1.25, that's what we would vote on. So it wasn't an automatic just to go to $1.85, because we want to make sure that we can demonstrate to the Board by the Board of Commissioners to the public that, going to above 80 cents was needed. So, a little complicated, but that's what the ballot language should read when you go to the voting. So, top of the TCAPs.
Something
they
to
add
add,
this on the ballot.
something to add to it, Larry.
Yes.
You're talking to add to cell phone surcharges as well, right?
This is a ballot language to add as a surcharge to your cell phone.
And the reason I put it that way
hard
is,
line. It's the
I
user
got
fee.
4 cell phone lines. One of them's out of Kalkaska.
Yeah.
They're all on the same plan. How are you gonna charge that?
Is it the same phone number?
It's attached to
charged.
my plan,
Yeah, it's
but it's a 564 number.
It's based on per phone number.
Because, right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is,
If you have 4 phone numbers.
it's gonna be
on one
hard
plan,
to really hit the users if that's the way you're looking at it, because I'm sure I'm not the only one living this side of town that may have a
Got it.
Kalkaska, and.
Do you have 4 phones? Or do you have
Yes.
4 people using the
Right.
same number?
No.
4 phones. You
Yeah,
can't use the
4
same-
phones.
You can't use the same number.
Oh,
I wonder if they go by your account as far as your billing?
That's what I'm saying, that's
Yeah.
something that obviously.
okay, we can check on that.
But you have the
want to
same
know,
issue
or
with
whoever to
people
look into.
have out of area phone numbers who had number portability. So
Yeah.
you could have a California phone number here,
That's,
You
you're
sell-
never gonna get a surcharge.
huh?
From here.
So you're doing it by phone number.
My understanding is it would be done by where you are being billed, what phone company you're billed from. If you're being billed from AT&T for your service here in Michigan, then you will get a surcharge for Grand Traverse County.
But, see, and that's the thing, with portability of numbers, I mean, I
Right.
know,
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting on
I think
Nancy,
there's-
if you're on a 517 cell phone.
I think there's 5 co-employees of mine that work for Grand Traverse County that have county numbers that
Yeah,
are from other counties.
yeah.
I mean, I think that's why some of this is being done, is we have a lot of people that are transient, and so, and you don't have hard lines anymore, so you're not getting that surcharge.
Right.
And so, because the
Yeah, and I don't have the detailed answer to that. I know that I dial people every day on 517, and I think I'm down in Lansing, and they're in Traverse City. They haven't just gotten to changing their cell phone number to
That's
233.
You don't have to.
Yeah, but you don't have to.
Number portability can be any place in the country.
Right.
It's all portable.
Right. So I don't know, I just don't know how they would be able to control that. Yeah, yeah.
Is the surcharge that's currently charged, is that the sole source of income to support 911?
No, we put $700,000 a year into operations just to keep, payroll, and the cost of the operations of the, maintenance of the, infrastructure, that kind of
So
thing.
above and beyond the revenue, this is generating, there's another 700,000 coming out of the general fund, I
Yes,
assume?
yes. And it's, at least it's our intent at this point in time, unless the new board of commissioners changes their mind, we're not pulling money out of the operations fund. This is just for capital improvements.
How much is this supposed to generate in additional revenue?
Up to $1 million a year,
2 million?
up to $1
Up to
million
$1
a
million.
year, if we go all the way up to $1.85
Now,
annually.
the concern I always have is when something like this happens, the plea is, it's a capital thing, our equipment's
Yes.
outdated, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
But once it gets put in place, you'll never come back to us and say, well, let's
Yeah.
lower it back because we've taken $1 million or $2 million
yeah.
for 3 years.
And that's why the board of commissioners insisted. They did amend that motion, at least that motion, that annually they set that charge based on what is necessary to charge for the necessary cost for the operation, for infrastructure, for the capital improvements that they want to make. So,
It actually makes sense to do it on the bill, no matter where the phone's at, because no matter where your number's from, if you're making a 911 call, it's coming to our service here.
right,
That doesn't go someplace else, so to some degree, it makes sense to do that.
yeah, and so somebody up here with a 517 number, if the signal's coming up here to answer it and it's consistent, I mean, I can't tell you if AT&T is gonna put a charge on it. I can't tell you.
Well, it's stripped off locally in the switch. If it's a 911, no matter where your number you have,
Yeah.
the local switch is getting it and sending it right to this center in our area. It's not sending it to Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Except for someone like me.
Okay.
Very good.
And so that will come probably to your board for information in October, I would guess. Just
Someone like me.
team is going to Nashville to the corrections Friday. They're leaving Friday. And they're gonna be there for a week. And they're gonna go through the 1 week formal training. And this is by the Department of Justice, is the National Institute of Corrections, just a subsection of it. And again, they are the basic training area for county governments around the country to give them all the necessary information to make assessments on their current jails, and whether you need to expand your current jail, whether you can do different alternatives, how you're doing alternatives, whether you should be just outsourcing, whether you should, or the bottom line is you should be looking at a new facility. And then they'll be coming back and making that report. And then if the determination is to do a new facility, then they actually give you a model to use for a public education process and assessment to go to the public way, because it would have to be a millage, because the county doesn't have the operating capital for, a $30 or $35 million jail.
Are there people that operate the jail system that will be part of that, so that
Yes.
people really understand that it will be
Yep,
that?
the sheriff's gonna be there, Bob Hall's gonna be there, who runs the
Okay.
corrections division, Dave Bennett, the county administrator, two county administrators, Christine Maxbauer and Commissioner Lathrop will be going, and Todd Ritter. And it's a 1 week intensive study training program. And then at the end, what they actually do is they take your situation and then they analyze it. It's just not general information. They just go in there and really dig deep into your current situation and your jail and how old it is and the issues behind your jail and whether it be expanded or not expanded. This kind. Just want to let you know that's going in, and then we'll have a report coming back the following week. And then I think everyone got a little note from me, at least the supervisor did. I'm having surgery on my right ankle. I've got torn my tendons and my ligaments, and he's going to have construction surgery, so I held off through the primary election. So I'm having surgery August 22nd. So I am supposed to be off my foot for 2 to 3 weeks. At least the first 2 weeks, just kind of totally off, and then the third week, hopefully with crutches and maybe how to go around, and then the fourth week, I can just be back in a boot cast for a while.
We did provide that thought.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure, I just wanted to make sure that everyone didn't think I just gave up, because I won the primary and I'm not going to meetings anymore, I don't want that to happen.
That's what I mentioned, that boot was on your left foot last month.
I was gonna say, it goes to all extents during.
No, somebody made a comment to me, now the election's over, you can take your boot off. So in any event, if you have any questions or comments, please call me. I'm a seller at home, and I'd be happy still to interact on your behalf, even though I might be spending a couple weeks at home. So I probably, in all likelihood, will not be in your October board meeting, but I will be in November. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yep.
Next would be our road commission. There is a report in your package. The board, Bill's not here tonight, so we'll have a report from them. We have no correspondence to report tonight that I'm aware of. No public hearing, so we'll go on to new business. The first item of new business is agreement Acme Township lot and road improvements. They provided, in front of you, I did provide a change that I was provided, and Jeff too, quite late today. I'll tell you where it's at. It's on page 2, under item 1, the second paragraph, and they inserted in here, if you look at the 2, a statement of, through the MOA, this is the memorandum of understanding for the tribe uses, it says, or the date that the tribe executes a contract for construction of the improvements and right-of-way permit for such construction is issued by the road commission. This is the only thing I find in it, Jeff. I don't think there's anything else in it. What we need on this is a motion tonight.
Through the
one on your table, go ahead, Gordy.
Okay, what does it say? I'm reading that first sentence, and you say at the end, because it ends with through the MOA period.
No, then it goes on down on the original, it goes on down to say improvements to the MOA, I guess what was that, parenthesis? Or the date, and I added that to it. The one that's in front of you, it should be one on the table in front of you. I apologize for that change that late. What we need on this continues our improvement of Lautner Road. I need a motion that we can go ahead and sign this with the road commission. Everything else is the same as in that original package that was sent out. Is that right, Jeff? From your understanding?
Yeah, except that the detail-oriented treasurer noted that this version had C that was actually removed as part of the version in the packet had C.
That's
but,
true.
that wasn't in the final version.
That date is still appropriate, the dates.
So it needs to be added to?
No, it's
No,
not.
Okay.
Just not.
It's deleted completely.
So this has all been covered. There's funds already been deposited by the developer with the road commission. So we just need a motion so we can go ahead and sign, Kathy and I will sign it and move on with all signatures.
Jeff, did you have a chance to look through this? I mean, there's
I worked on it.
quite a large amount of money here at stake, and it's all covered pretty well, but it's completely,
I worked on this with Terry Zeiss from the road commission.
okay. So it's completely the road commission and the tribe that are,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
held
There's no
responsible,
burden.
There's nothing that's
Yeah,
gonna
the
fall back to
townships.
the township?
No, no.
Okay.
It's actually the road commission, the BGT, and the tribe. So
I'm sorry.
BGT's
Yeah,
actually
I'm
put
sorry,
up
the
an estimate.
BGT is.
Yes. So if you'd take a motion for that,
I'll make that a motion.
Support.
Amy? Paul? Any other questions? All in favor, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. So we will take care of it. Thank you. The next item is approval of a motorcycle awareness sign resolution. And we have Karen with us tonight. Karen?
Hi, Karen Robinson from East Bay Township. I think the information, if you guys all got that in your packet, is pretty self-explanatory. I decided to make this a project and turn kind of a crummy situation in my life into something positive that could possibly help others in their lifetime. We put signs on the road for watch out for deer, so we're kind of, motorcycles are out there. I do not ride, although I did ride most recently in May when we had a motorcycle ride. We called it Eric's Awareness Ride. And that was just to make people more aware that motorcycles are out there. And that was the day that we actually had the dedication and put the first motorcycle sign in at the site of his accident. I do have stats that Lieutenant Morrow had given me at the beginning of this year. And Acme Township did have 2 motorcycle crashes in 2012. They were not fatalities. And they had 3 in 2013, which were just crashes and no fatalities. So my project is to get these road signs out. The secondary roads, or the county roads, I should say, is where I'm going to need more of your permission. Those will be going in the road right of way. Most of your roadways, though, are the main drags here, 72, 31. They cannot go in the road right away. They have to be on private property. Although I do have somebody on 72 heading east that is interested in possibly putting a sign on his business property if it is good visibility for people to see. I don't just want to plop a sign. I want it so that it's visible, and I don't want to crowd signs because nobody will see them after a while. So I'm here tonight to ask for your support to allow these signs to go onto your roadways. No money, it's all funded by donation, and
We have, for the board's notice, some of you know Pam Sen, Greg Sen. They have a sister, I think it's Mary. Mary and her husband had a very bad accident. I think they were in UP.
They were in
Charlotte. Somebody pulled out in front of them.
That's the
Still in the
standard.
hospital. So
that is the standard.
it comes pretty close to home.
Yep. I do know that, that there are some people that, I had started this with, they are taking this whole project now into Antrim County. They're on the agenda for Antrim County and townships there. It's also going into Kalkaska County. They have appointments to be at their board meetings in Kalkaska. And I just spoke with someone the other night, that they're interested in starting this drive and a campaign for it to happen in Wexford County. So, you know, we're trying to get at least northern Michigan. We've got beautiful roads and scenery. We'd like to have those people come up here. There's a lot of us in the surrounding areas that ride motorcycles. And
Have you talked to Jen Ritter at all about the MSU extension for the county, child safety? I know it's not necessarily a child thing, but then again, it's right at that
talked
age.
to a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, I'm sure. That would be someone that I would strongly recommend you try to look up. I don't have any of her contact information, but I know Pat does. And
What's her name again?
Jennifer Ritter.
Okay.
She works for the MSU extension of the county in the child safety, Safe Kids program.
Okay.
And she would have a lot of resources, I'm thinking that would probably benefit this a lot. And,
Okay.
And it, you know, it applies. Younger and younger kids are getting on motorcycles.
Well, there is a law going in and that we're supposed to encourage our reps and whatever for going into the ballot. I don't know if we'll see it up here as far as legislation goes, that anybody, that education now is going into the schools, especially with driver's ed. Back when I was a kid, it was just look for a pedestrian and another car coming as you approach. Now they want to get more in depth with bicycles and motorcycles. And so that is something that they're working on to get passed to go into driver's education classes. So, you know, it's something that they work on through legislation and whatever. So that is in the works right now too, for more education. And then they did just recently added some, I think that it was signed that motorcyclists now have to, it's a requirement that they have to have a motorcycle endorsement because they have to go to these classes, which teaches them how to be aware of us as motorists in our vehicles, but it teaches them how to deal with their motorcycle and whatever. So it's not just motorists that need to look, it's bikers also need to be aware of what they're doing also. So it's kind of a both sides, and so I'm hoping these signs will help everybody that's out on the road with a motor vehicle.
Okay, thank you. You do have a resolution in front of you, it's Resolution R 2014-27, to support motorcycle awareness signs.
I'd make that motion to approve the resolution R 2014-27 as written.
Support.
Okay. Any other questions on it? Anybody? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you for spending time with
Super,
us.
thank you so much.
Our next item, I'm going to start out, is shown as Metro Fire budget. We are going to talk about that, but I want to first read to you a letter. Acme Township error on the L4029 tax rate request form. This is a form we file with the county clerk and equalization department each year in September. When working on this annual budget for emergency services public hearing, an error was noted on our L4029 tax rate request form filed with the Grand Traverse County Clerk and Equalization Department. The error was that the emergency service millage rate on this form showed 2.65 mils, but the Acme board had approved only 2.55, so it was 1/10 mil higher than it should have been. And that was approved in our last year in September as a resolution. The original resolution was for 2.1 mils, it says miles in my report, mils for Metro Fire, .30 mils for ambulance, and .15 for police.
Our actual meeting minutes and audio recording were checked, and they also showed that 2.55 was the millage approved. This error was discussed with our assessor and treasurer, and it's felt a typo had occurred in filling out this form. This mistake wasn't caught when the form was signed by the supervisor. Township legal was advised. We did some research. We talked to the state legal department, the treasury department when this occurred. Township legal counsel also discussed, okay, I always say, with the treasury department. So we want to make sure what's the rules if something like this happens. We need to know what's the follow, what's the statute, and what's the rules. The treasurer's response was that they are aware of no specific legal requirement either on any about this happening. In other words, there's no filing against it. They can't penalize the township. We made a mistake, but there's no statute would be right word, Jeff, in regards to this issue. The treasurer did say that the Department of Treasurer's response was that they were aware of no legal requirements either. They suggested the following options when something like this happens. The township board could refund the amount back to each parcel owner. Very expensive, but it can be done. The township board could apply this 1/10 mill overage collection to the next public service millage and not request an increase, but use the money already collected. This was collected 6 months ago, so the money we do have. We're very sorry about this. It was, I'm the person that's responsible. I was the last one to look at it. When I signed it, I did not look at the number compared to our resolution. If it had been attached, we'd have had a checks and balance. I did not see it. That will be put in place going forward, that when we sign these, that'll be attached to it, so there's no question about it. The amount of money we're talking about in the last millage round is about $28,000. 1 mill per 100,000 would be about a $10 issue, as millage relates, a tenth of a millage, not 1 mill. 1/10 relates to the millage amount. Our present millage we're going to talk about shortly. It's being proposed, not decided yet, but proposed and is talked about tonight. Pat's going to talk about is going forward for 2.2 mills for ambulance, 0.3 mills. I'm sorry, 2.2 for fire, ambulance 0.3 mills, 3/10, and police 0.15 for a total of 2.65. My suggestion, or the suggestion from the board tonight before we go into the fire millage, is that we would keep our millage, whatever we decide it to be, 1/10 less, and take the money we've already collected and provide that to Metro to make up that difference. It's in our budget today, it's in our fire fund today. It's a shame we made a mistake, but it was a mistake. We right away recognized it and went out to find out what's the right way to deal with it, made people aware of it. Some of you that do read the paper, there was an article in the paper. We're embarrassed by it. I'm embarrassed by it that I signed it and didn't realize it, but it happened. We want you to know that we need to correct it when we approve our millage tonight. Any questions from the board?
I kind of have a question. Could we right now make it the millage rate that was approved, signed, effective immediately, and regardless of whatever conversation we have in the future, anyone who may have sold property prior to effective immediately can come in and see the township, fill out some paperwork, and get whatever overage they paid. Other than that, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because if somebody paid money on a tax that they shouldn't have, we should refund it.
You gotta understand how much money that we're talking about here.
I
In
realize
some cases,
that, but
it's insignificant in that it would be, I mean, it could be less than $1 in a lot of these cases for those, and they may never come. So then how much time do you give? How do you give public notice? Those people don't live here anymore. They're gone.
I realize that, but we charge people a little bit more than we should have by mistake. Okay?
Sure.
We've realized we made a mistake. Rather than saying, let's refund everyone, which I believe your article in the paper was $9,000 it cost to do that.
Probably minimum 9,000,
Right.
just to
And
process
that's,
it.
and to me, that's
A lot of money.
a lot for what the mistake that's made. But the people that have sold property, and if they realize we built it, we shouldn't have, come in and make it known, then we should refund.
That's one approach.
And then
To answer your, I see your point.
Yeah.
You can make a big, huge deal that have a plug notice, put it in a newspaper, all the newspapers across the year, or in the resolution or whatever the finding of the motion is, simply state, they will have that option and put a date, if they come into the township, make an application by a certain date.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not leaving it out there forever.
It's better than a stick in the eye. It's better than doing nothing, but to say, well, let's go all the way and try to trace every person. So it gives the person an option, by at least in the resolution saying.
It's a board decision. I mean, I don't agree with it, but that's just my opinion.
Well, there are two things that I want to just, one legal and one point out. One is, I'm not sure if you were suggesting that it would be sort of retroactively 265 for those people who still lived here, but those people who moved would be able to get a discount. Okay, so I understand that. Also, so the other issue is when you move, generally speaking, the TAR contract, which I don't know how many of the majority of the people use, unless it's a private deal without realtors, they prorate the taxes. So if you lived in the township for 8 months of the 12 months of the tax period, you're paying 8/12 or 4/6 or 2/3 of that tax. So you would, I mean, technically you would really ask someone who's asking for a refund, well, give us the date that you sold your house, and then we will prorate what you've, because otherwise they would actually be getting someone else's money, the buyer's money, because the buyer paid a part of that tax. I mean, again, that gets into more detail, whether that's what you wanted to do or not, but that's the actual reality, is that when you sell or buy or sell, you're prorating the taxes over the course of the year. So someone paid a percentage of that, the buyer paid a percentage and the seller paid a percentage, depending on when they bought in the calendar year or the tax year.
And again, the .1 mils is about $10 on
$100,000.
And then
Pretty.
it is not.
For some it's more, some it's less, like any number. Doug, you have a question?
Has there been that many sales in the township?
I could not answer. Amy might, I don't know. Sales.
Sales in the township.
What about?
Has there been that many sales in the township?
I have no clue. I don't know.
Neither
You have to
do I.
ask them.
I mean-
I don't know. I don't track the sales. I get them once it's sold and the names are in the database. I don't know what's sold or what hasn't. So, yeah, I have no clue. I
mean,
couldn't
if we're talking 2 houses.
Oh, no, you're talking more than that. I mean,
bet
off the
there's more than
cuff,
100.
there's 150 to 200, but then you have to look at trusts, going from trusts, so.
Other transactions.
Depending on, I mean, there's a lot of ownership changes, family transfers where money's not actually exchanged, but goes to kid, you know what I mean? I mean, so, I mean, yeah. And then you would have to look at too, is if we do that, and then we're looking at not levying the full amount, there's gonna be a shortfall because of,
That's why
and
we
it just
suggested
depends.
we
I mean,
just.
it may be insignificant, but.
I understand Paul's point, I agree with him in principle, and almost it's just, I'll withdraw.
Well, knowing all that, which I didn't know.
That's fine.
I knew it was roughly $10 on 100,000, and I mean, I'm sure there was some that were quite a bit more than that sold in the township, but
Some quite a bit. Yes.
probably the majority were around that or less.
So, okay, getting back to what we would do then to correct this. Right now, the millage is 2.1 for Metro Fire.
That's right.
So if we agree to go to 2.2, we'll keep it at 2.1 for 1 year.
Right.
If we agree to not increase it, let it at 2.1, we'll actually reduce it next year to 2.0 and take the extra 28,000 we collected to put towards the 2.1. So that's, it's a
And
two separate issues. One is,
if we reduce it from if it goes to 2.2, we keep it at 2.1. We actually don't keep it that, we make it 2.1 for this period. That's what we'll do in the public hearing. The money we've already collected then will be provided to Metro to make up that difference. That's just out of the funds.
Whatever we set it at, it's going to be that one difference.
Right, and we pay them .1. That's it. So that way that we provide for our services appropriately. We makes it a lot easier for everybody. It's a,
Do we want a motion then, to kind of
I think that's what we need.
summarize?
Then we can go into our regular metro discussion. That will let us apply that to whatever the answer is.
I'll make a motion concerning the millage tax rate error for 2013, paid February 2014, that to correct the millage going forward, we'll reduce the approved millage rate going forward, whatever it's approved at, by 1/10 of a mill for a 1 year period.
Support.
So for those in the public that might not be aware, millages for fire or police and all these come up every year. We have to make a public hearing. That will be in September. We publish it. So I said that's a yearly thing done by the board. Some know that, some don't know that, some have not been in a meeting to understand that. So just so you know that every year. So that's the motion. Any other question on the motion? Motion was by LaPointe, seconded by Scott. Millage to correct the approved, whatever it is gained going forward, we reduce by 1/10.
1/10.
Any question?
We need to say that 1/10 is paid by the 10th that was previously collected. I mean,
Say that again, Paul.
do we need to put in there, the 10th that it's reduced by will be paid by the 1/10 that's already been collected? I mean,
I
we
think
know
that's
that's what the
part
intent
of
is.
the
but-
discussion, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's
You think it's all right? That's the intent, yes. Okay, well, this is money. I think we ought to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just thinking this over,
Okay.
if you don't mind. You come up with a figure of, 9,000 is what you figured it would take to.
That's an estimate of what it would take to refund
Reimburse.
everybody. That means run a
Do you
database.
agree with that?
I have no clue, I didn't look, I had no clue.
Even though-
I
Yes, you gotta write it.
cannot even give you an
You can't.
estimate. No, I'm just saying, I don't know how much each check costs.
It would be
I
within your.
I have no clue, and then we would have to look at 2013 databases, okay, are you paying it based on what the roll was, is in 2013?
What time frame?
Or 2014, what time frame? So then you're gonna look at that, can we run checks for every individual?
Or do we have to hire somebody to run the check? That's how
I,
I think.
Is
yeah,
that what-
I mean,
okay,
I
okay,
truly,
that's-
I
that's
don't
a-
know.
That's,
I mean,
that's
I
where I'm
wasn't
coming-
asked
I'm
how
just-
much, I don't.
Amy, again, Amy, you have some criteria, run a database, then you have to get it to somebody that can write checks automatically off of that database, whatever that amount is.
Based on what date, 'cause you
Whatever
gotta
date
pick
you
a
pick,
date
yeah.
that you're gonna base your check cut on. We do, yeah, and then you have mortgage companies that pay. I don't even know, I don't even know.
I got this, and then it was put in the paper. I haven't read a paper in
Really?
a few weeks. The only thing I've read is, the only papers I've read are the ones taken.
How much is the charity?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just trying to, I thought, you know, it would be just wonderful.
Well, I mean, one example, Amy, I think the amount of money it costs us just to mail things out for a tax bill is what?
Oh, yeah,
4,000? Or is it 1,400? I don't
well,
know.
we have 3,800
1,500.
parcels.
$1,400,
Yeah.
$1,500. I mean, that alone.
No,
just
it's
to
about
make the
2,000.
That's just the mail, okay.
Yeah.
That gives you an idea.
That gives me a,
Yeah.
Thanks.
We have a motion, any other discussion? If not, Nancy, would you do a roll call, please?
LaPointe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
Venema.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Again, to the audience, we're sorry this happened. I'm the responsible person, I'm the last to sign, so I have to say it's me, Buck stopped here. We will have that in place going forward, that we will make sure the resolution is attached. And Kathy will keep me honest on that, because she has to sign it too.
Yes, I do.
So, thank you. Pat? It's up to you now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, citizens. This is the time of year that we bring our preliminary budget by the township, get your comments, because next month we need to have a public hearing and actually set the millage rate. Our process is that we usually start getting numbers together in May, and we only have about 4 months under our belt, but we try to do the best that we can. That's why you sometimes see big numbers on here and estimates, because at this time of year, like healthcare, we're still guessing at what it might be. Our revenues, majority of it come in under Public Act 33, which is Special Assessment District, sent across all 3 townships on the taxable value. Currently, right now, across the board, we are assessing 2.1 mills, and the townships, on top of that, either put EMS or police, such as Acme and East Bay. So the process, I'm just going to go take a big global view of our budget, and then next month, in the month time, if you have any questions or would like to look into some things, I would be glad to do that. If you look on the second page, it's really where we're going to go is our board has approved a preliminary budget that you see before you. It is assessing an increase of 0.1 mils, so it'd be 2.2 up from 2.1. We still are not seeing huge increases in our property values, and we are still right now under 2007 values, and it's probably going to be an awfully long time. These tax tribunals have hit us very hard, just like it has hit you. But the 3 townships went up 1.78% last year, which brought in about $55,000, or in many cases that was our cost of living increase. And just check the latest numbers. They're saying that our CPI went up by about 1.6% here in Michigan. Wages and benefits, right now we're proposing a 2% increase to our firefighters, fire inspectors, and administrative staff. Right now, they're proposing a 20% increase in healthcare, and we don't know what that's going to come in at. We don't know if we're going to go to our employees and ask them for higher co-pays, whether we're going to switch from Blue Cross to whoever. Those are some things that as September hits, our numbers will be a whole lot closer, but we at least budgeted for that. Due to the minimum wage increase, we have not many, but some firefighters that are going to get a $75 an hour increce. So, how much? Cents, 75, what did I say, $75 an hour? That'd be great. I want that too. 75 cents.
A lot more fun.
Yeah, there's a dollar sign in front of that, so anyway, yes, dollar sign 0.75. So what that did is so it doesn't skew our whole wage model, is we bumped all the part-timers up 75 cents. So what that means is right now our part-timers, which are doing pretty close to 65% of all of our labor numbers are part-timers, they're going to be in a range of $13.35 to $13.85. They don't get any health care, they don't get any other benefits except the joy of working for us and for the citizens. So we think that that's a fair number for our employees. It's an increase that they deserve. We definitely need the purchase of another pickup truck. What we're doing is we're going to be replacing a 2008 Suburban. Station 1 is a station that has about 3 trailers out front. So we're going to get a crew cab, 1 ton, to pull those, and then we're going to move the squad, which is our Suburban that runs all of our medical calls. We're going to move that out to Station 9 in East Bay Township and replace the 98, which is rusting and looking bad. People say $50,000 for a truck, that's a lot of money. Yes, it is. The truck itself is going to cost probably about $35,000 to $40,000 for a crew cab, diesel. But it's going to take about another $10,000 to decal it, put radios on it, and put lights and sirens. It's pretty expensive to do that. Number 4, Cherryland. We're going to again tanker 12 out at the Silver Lake Station. We're going to make that payment out of our public improvement fund. At the end of the year, we're still going to have about $500,000 in there. New Engine 8 that you see out here that we just received, the lease payment for that is going to be paid out of the general fund. $68,000 of the new debt is really budgeted for the new fire station. And I can't argue enough for the fact that the firefighters out here in Acme have been working in an old archaic building. We need to We need to get moving on that. This area is going to continue to grow. Our strategic plan shows that not only is our area going to grow here in Acme, but in East Bay and Garfield as well. So what this consists is about a half a year's payments. We're saying that annually it's going to cost about $136,000 over 20 years to buy this, to pay for this new fire station, and that equates to pretty close to $1 million for the new fire station. Again, we budgeted for about $2 million. We hope it comes in underneath that, and we're still looking for land. Of the $500,000 that we have in the public improvement fund, $300,000 of that is allocated for land. Now, we do have an offer in the town center to locate there, and that's, at least right now, our primary choice to move there, and we thank them for that offer. This is the fourth year in a row that we aren't going to be allocating any money into our public improvement fund. So we're again feeling the effects of the 5 years at the same millage, and I can recognize the fact that nobody wants a tax increase, but you also look at, over these past 5 years, our runs are up 40%. So we're doing the work, but we're doing it for the same amount of money. So if you take a look at the budget as presented, to break even on that would be needing 2.35 mils. So what the board has asked us to do is to adjust that millage to 2.2, and then the loss of $232,000 is that would be allocated over the townships to be paid for out of whatever means that they have. For Acme's share, that would be 33. Okay, that's on the.
And that would come out of our general funds in that case.
Right.
And again, if there's a windfall somewhere, then that would be the.
Yeah, absolutely. Take, for instance, this year, we're projecting coming in on a budget by about $46,000, and we're all going to be able to take advantage of that. In 2014, the townships are paying a little bit of our loss as well, or our expenses over revenue. So other than that, the rest of the budget is pretty much just inflationary. You can see that there's not huge increases in cost centers, but the big one really is what do we do with the new fire station? If the board has asked, are there loans or are there grants out there? The grant that the $2.3 million grant that we got for the Silver Lake Station, that came under stimulus money. We were the only stimulus project, with the exception of some roads and some sewer projects, that was left. In the whole state of Michigan, there were 4 fire stations built under that. I don't see that ever happening again. I don't know where we could go to get monies to build a fire station. The Grand Traverse Tribe has offered to build a station with us and with Whitewater together, but they want it to be on tribal land. We can't operate Acme Township on Arnold Road. Arnold Road was an area that they were willing to build it. It takes us, it's kind of like an airline. They use a hub and spoke system. We can't be at the very end of our township and then still try to cover M72, Holiday Hills, on all the way up to 4 Mile Road. That station ain't handled. So we really need to be within about a half a mile of where we're at right now. We all know you're suffering the same with us on an old building. We have talked about co-locating with the township, and I guess the jury is still out on that, but at least right now, there doesn't appear to be major savings in having a fire station and a township hall together. Possibly on the same campus where you share lighting and parking spots and those kind of things is still out there. We're going forward as if we're going to build a standalone station. I've met with the architect, and he's crunching and trying to get some better numbers, but as it sits right now, we're budgeting $2 million for that. And the payments on that, if we commit to that, we're going to have to commit to that for 20 years. Right now, money is, we can get about 2.9% money, which I don't think we're going to see interest rates the way they are forever. but at least right now, we'd like to take advantage of that. We can go out for a bond issue, but just the legal costs of a bond issue are upwards of $85,000. And, you know, where's the sweet spot? A $2 million bond issue probably doesn't make sense to go out and buy. It makes sense to do a municipal lease or just traditional financing. So that pretty much is our budget, and I'd be glad to open it up for any questions anybody might have. Jean?
And is the 2 million, station pad of 2 million, does that include land cost or not?
He does
So in
not.
other words, if land was purchased at 100,000 an acre, so 300,000, it would be 2.3?
No, because we budgeted, for the last 3 years, we've put into our budget $300,000 for land out of our public improvement fund.
Okay.
So that would be just
So you
building,
have that
building
covered.
costs. Right.
But if you would, let's say, since you, if I'm tracking right, and please correct me if I'm not, so if you would find land, or land would be optimal at the Grand Traverse Town Center, then would that 300,000 negate the 232, 396 loss?
It potentially could. It's whatever our board wants to do with that money.
Okay.
Or do you leave it in the public improvement fund for future? I don't know, I guess that would leave, but that surely could be used for that, to pay down the cost of that. We talked to the architect today, and, you know, we told him we would really like to see this project come in, you know, about 1.7, 1.8. There's a lot of frills on Station 12 that, because it was stimulus money, and, you know, we threw everything at it, and it's what they wanted. They wanted it LEED, and primarily LEED was about $400,000 more than if we did a non-LEED building. You know, so there's
What
some
was the
savings.
part of the driveway you said that was wrong?
Well, you got lead points by having pervious pavers, so if you go on the one side, when it rains, all that water just drips right into the bricks, into the ground, instead of going into a storm sewer.
It should still go to the ground.
But, you know, it's LEED Gold, so it's one away from the highest award you can get, and it's the most expensive station we have to operate. And that's because LEED stands for Leaders in Economic and Environmental Decide. The economic and environmental clash all the time. We are definitely seeing that at that station. So I know it's not popular by any means to raise taxes. With a special assessment district, it's nothing that needs to go to the vote of people unless I believe it's 21 or 26% of the electorate or the landowners get together and file a petition and take it out for a vote. I think we've tried to be fiscally responsible. We've remained at the same millage now for going on 5 years, and our property values have not even caught up to 2007. So we're trying to run a department. We're growing. We're busier. It's a tough decision to make, I understand.
Any other questions from Pat? Gordy?
Amy, did you get a chance to look at the numbers? I spent some time looking at this, as you probably suspected.
That's great. I'm glad you did.
First one, I looked at your revenue projections, which, Paul, you know, you've got the revenue on one side and cost on this. I looked at your revenue projections in the budget worksheet. You say you're going to generate, I guess, 572 from Acme, is that right?
That's what we've received year to date.
Correct.
Okay, so 572 in, would that be 13 or 14 tax?
That'd have been
13.
13.
1,016,000 from East Bay and 1,005,000 from Garfield. I went and looked at the counties, and I just got this late last week and I was tied up, so I couldn't follow up on it in detail. But I looked at what the county is saying the taxable values are, and they should generate more money than that, if these numbers are right, or if there may be
You
something.
gotta take personal property tax out of there.
But that's rather small.
Well, it's pretty substantial in Garfield and in East Bay.
Okay, well, it's just a point in looking at the revenue. I realize you want to be conservative, but if you're gonna ask the if we're gonna ask the taxpayers to pay more money, I don't want to be ultra conservative. At the end of the year, we say, boy, we collected more money than we need, and we charged more in taxes.
Hey, Gordy, did you use the 278 as your taxable value? Because our actual taxable value, which generates the 585,000, our taxable value was 277,165,064 for 2013. That's with any tribunal adjustment.
Okay, I used 293 from the sheet I sent you.
Okay.
Well, this is what.
I didn't see
That's the one you
Oh,
showed.
But it's,
Yeah, I called
So
Rob.
it
So
would have
anyway-
been 585,000 is what we would have, close to that, brought in. Why this shows 572, I have no clue.
That's actual through June.
Yeah,
We might not
Estimated
have
total.
Last.
right, it's gonna be closer to the
Well,
585.
I don't want to get into the detail here. I'm just saying, if we're going to ask the people to pay more taxes, not only do we need to look at the cost, make sure we're as efficient as we possibly can, but also our revenue is accurate, as close as it can be.
Yeah, Robin clarifies that every year with the county clerk.
Okay.
And we
And
check
equalization.
minus the personal property tax, so we feel pretty comfortable with those numbers, but we'll go back and take another look at them.
The other thing is, in the discussion of going from 2.1 to 2.35, you're saying, we have to bump it, that's about a 10% increase, which is significant. There's a lot of debate between East Bay, Garfield, and Acme about what do you think the voters are going to think about a 10% increase, going from 2.1 to 2.35. So the discussion was, and what's being proposed here, which I have an issue with, is take it from 2.1 to 2.2 and take the missing 0.15 out of the general fund, which is still taxpayer money. So we're now changing course where in the past we were funding Metro, and it's very visible to everybody. What does Metro cost the township? Well, it's the millage. It's 2.1 mils, and that's what we're paying. Now we're going to get into a situation where it's 2.1, but then you have to look at money that's going to be also taken out of the general fund, which we don't. There's a lot of other people contending for monies in the general fund. My take would be if it's a fact that you need 2.35, instead of working around it in a way, we have an open discussion on 2.35. And so everybody knows when they get their, when you look at the tax bills and everything, you know exactly what you're paying for what services. That's.
Are you saying, so I can clarify this for you, if that's truly the number, instead of taking money elsewhere out of the budget, and that's what we want to do, not, we haven't decided that, because we haven't, then do it at that level as the tax millage for fire.
Basically saying, there's, I guess for years and forever, it's been very open, 0.15 for police, point something for ambulance, and 2.1 for fire. And you kind of know and you can look at it. Now if we start auditing that out of general fund, and it just, if it is what it is, is.
We had discussion of that, and one of the board members wanted it to go that way and was denied. This is what Metro's requesting. We can make it what you're saying, and I personally think that's what should be done. And I am the one person that voted against doing it this way because I feel the same way you do. We know it's going to cost approximately 2.35. Why, in a sense, hide the fact that we know that's what it's going to cost by making it 2.2 and paying the 43,000 out of general fund? I mean, granted, we have a general fund surplus, but that's because the township is playing diligently and put money aside for a rainy day or other things. The millage could go up to, how much was it that?
10 nails.
Yeah.
But we'd all be.
We're allowed to
First
say.
shop.
I mean, we'd be out of office, but I mean, that shows you that we're being very diligent with it. I mean, it's 2.3 and it could be 10. And we, you know,
I think Metro really, from the 80s and 90s, lived on the growth of our area. That's one of the reasons that we pulled out of the county fire system, was that, our 3 townships were growing exponentially, and we needed to make an investment, capital investment, so that's what we did. So really, the 80s and 90s, we were over double-digit growth, and so when we had $1.5 million sitting in our public improvement fund. We paid cash for trucks. The new fire station on Station 1 on 3 Mile Road, wrote the check for it, but we had savings. Well, things got tough. 07, the taxable values plummeted and they keep going down. They're now starting to creep back up. But we really don't see that we're going to be able to live off our taxable value increase probably for a couple years. And everyone said, oh gosh, when Myers comes, that's going to be the salvation. Well, that whole complex probably will help Acme Township, but it's going to be 3-4 years before we see that. I mean, Garfield and East Bay are growing high single-digit numbers too. But again, we're not going to see that money till probably the 2016, 2017 budget. So one of the concerns that Chuck Corn had from Garfield was, we always raise taxes, but we never take it back down. Well, that's Jay and Paul. I mean, they can take it back down because they're on our board. So if our board says, no, you're not going to continue at 2.3 mils or whatever, then we live on what the board agrees and the township say.
Pat, I heard you say that you're hoping that 2 million could possibly be 1.7, maybe. And then I also heard that the 300,000 wasn't in there for the land if you end up buying land, which is your decision based on PennDOT study and accessibility. But that 300,000 could possibly then be put against the 232, 396 lost. Does it make sense to fine-tune what you think it's really going to cost for the building? Because I'm leaning toward keeping it at the 2.2 or 2.1, thank you, and then anything that you save as a result of going down from the 2 million and optimizing, maybe lessening the 300,000 for the land, could go into your future growth pot. And that way, we're all kind of goal-driven. Anything you can save could rebuild that pot.
The public improvement fund.
I think that one of the questions there would be, since we don't have an answer on what the architectural cost estimate is yet, and we're faced with, within 30 days, will we or won't we, and we have a public hearing that we have to post very soon on the webpage for our September meeting.
Well, if we don't build we build the fire station starting in the spring. It's not going to be done until May of 2016. If we wait another year, we're 2017, and Acme's going to look a little different. Right now, Station 8 is running third highest in the out of the 5 stations, and it's pretty close to running second. I mean, so this area, our numbers are up double digit out here. Captain Shaw's here. I'm sure many of you guys see Mark runs our station here and the Station 9 out in East Bay Township. But yeah, we're getting busy. The guys are sleeping in recliners and they're taking showers under spigots out of out in the apparatus, using the doors as a shower curtain. So it's not a pretty sight. Thankfully, most of you have not experienced that. But I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't realize, that you all are working in substandard situation, and so are we. It's just, when's a good time? And no time's a good time. And next year we come to you and it's going to be election year. Oh, we're never going to raise taxes when I might have to be elected next year. So do we need a station? Yes. Can we try to build one that's Spartan? Sure. And that's, it's not going to be a pole barn, but it'll be, a masonry steel building that looks good, that's going to be here for 60 years. that fits into the environment and the architectural of the area. And we can operate out of it for 60-plus years. And have enough room in it to, we've got a place in there for your sheriff deputy and for EMS, and a place for people to sleep with dignity, so.
So $1,000,007 would probably be a very Spartan one, when you were mentioning $1,000,007, you're thinking.
Yeah,
more, like-
Yeah, we met with the architect and we cut out almost $500,000 from the other station already, of things that we don't
That'd
need
be
as
like
luxury.
$1,900,000 or
Yeah,
something.
so I'm
That's
hoping.
great, Pat. That's
Maybe
great.
that
We
we-
have to keep it optimal, you don't wanna.
We moved an ad in 2011, so there have been an increase in costs, but,
We're the first township you,
no, Terry went to Acme and I haven't got a text from him. so-
where, Terry?
Garfield.
Garfield.
Yeah, so.
He hasn't texted you
He hasn't
yet?
texted me that
He's still alive,
Yeah,
huh?
so the ladies there are probably.
We don't know.
I don't know, but, I mean, I can appreciate it.
I'm thinking we don't really have a number yet to make.
But we have to figure a number, because I gotta publish
Yeah.
a public hearing with a number in it.
In a sense,
Now,
what it
now that
amounts to
doesn't-
is we have to fill in the blank,
Mhm.
keep it as close to that blank as we can. Otherwise, we have to wait another year, like Pat was saying, and then
And
you're
we don't
another,
wanna do that.
right.
Yeah.
So if we put the blank in there,
Mhm.
trying to keep it as close to that 2 million as mentioned,
Mhm.
and move forward, at least it gives them a pretty clear-cut line, that, hey, you got 2 million to work with, figure it out.
I
And
will
if they
have,
can't, then we'll obviously have to come back to us, but
Okay, the two big factors we don't know that are driving to a large degree this 10% price increase is the cost of the building, and are they gonna be able to use donated land or purchased land? And that's, you're talking a $300,000 swing for sure, which is money they have allocated over here, that if they get free money, it goes towards the building, it lowers the cost, plus you don't know a really good number yet from the architect on a building. You certainly will know more in a short period of time, and I feel much more comfortable in a public setting with people here, explaining in more detail than it might cost this, so let's give them the max, and hopefully things will work out. So I guess the
The
question
max
is,
is $2.
what's magic about September? You want to start in May, but what happens if we delayed this?
You can't. You have to do it every September, that's kind of the.
yeah, October
We can't
1st,
move
the
it out.
millage rate needs to be set October 1st.
The L-4029 is
Right.
required to be turned into the
That's
county
famous.
commissioners for their signatures to be levied on the December
So
1st
that's-
tax.
We don't have any
That's what's holding
freedom.
back.
So that's what's driving.
And in Michigan, you want to get your building at least weathered in before snow hits, and then they can work on it.
One of the suggestions I would have, since it is a public hearing, is we would publish it at 2.31, I think that's the number you were using.
Well,
Well, it'd be-
2.35 is the full.
But we
they're
would use
saying
2.25.
2.25.
For Metro, I'm just talking about Metro.
Right. 2.35 is what they're asking
Yes,
for.
so you would publish it as
Well-
that for the public hearing.
no, you gotta realize two different things here. The Metro Fire Board asked for 2.2,
Right.
and the townships to kick in the 43,000, recognizing that it truly is 2.35, but the Metro Fire Board asked for 2.2 plus the townships to kick in.
That's a true statement, that's right.
So that's our only, either we go with 2.35, it's a yes or no, it's an up or down vote, and we can't come back to Acme Board saying, I won't.
Well, again, we as a board, I think, can decide tonight what we want to publish for the public hearing. Is it, as Paul said, what Metro said, 2.2, or do we publish 2.35? The publish is not the millage, setting the millage. The publish is saying, this is the hearing we're going to talk about next month. At that hearing, we pick the final number. Is that, I think, correctly?
Is your meeting going to be September 8th? The September 1st is Labor Day.
Second, it's second.
Oh, it's going to be.
It is the second.
Wow.
Yes.
Because the Metro Board meets again on the 26th, so you definitely would have, well, you could get something in the,
Oh, I got time to
in the
get.
paper.
I just think if you're gonna publish, you publish at the top number. if you ratchet it down, remembering our previous discussion about whatever we adopt comes down by 1/10. But you might as well publish at the top when you have the hearing, you hear the public's answer to that, okay? Because as Gordy said, whether you take it out of the millage or you take it out of the general, it's the same amount of money, basically.
What I would suggest, Jay, and I agree with what you're saying, but I would suggest that, I don't know how exactly it's gonna be worded, but that we're gonna have the public hearing, that Metro has asked for 2.2 millage rate with a township co-pay probability at the end of the year. We recognize that it really is 2.35, and so we'll be discussing that to determine what we're gonna set the rate. Because I know, it's pretty obvious, I think I've said it, I'm the one that said no, Metro needed to ask for 235, period. We know that's what it needs with the stuff they've got on the books, as best estimates as we can have, that we have to have this set by. Set it at that, rather than asking for the potential of 232,000 to be paid by townships out of whatever fund they find it in.
Have to be out of general.
Well, you know.
Right, yeah, whichever part.
Whatever part of the general fund suffers, because we know that's what it.
Right. I mean, we can publish it that way. Jeff?
I think it'd be clearer if you just published it and asked for either 2.2 with a makeup of from something else or 2.35 and decide after the
Well,
hearing.
and that's kind of what I
what's
said, I don't know
appropriate.
how I worded it, but they've asked for 2.2 with a
Supplement from the
supplement
township.
of 43,648
For the loss.
to make up a potential loss, but we realize it should be 2.35 to make up that same. You follow what I'm saying?
And each township.
Identify both components.
Right,
what you
we
read.
can do what we want with
Yeah,
it, but
Acme can do
the
something
the
different
Metro
than
Fire
East
Board has
Bay.
asked for
And
the
we're-
2.2.
right now, remember, just talking about fire, we still will have on that publication the amount for ambulance and the amount for police.
Are we gonna be talking about increasing those also?
At that hearing, we would, yes.
So
If
we're-
there's a need to.
So potentially, we'll be talking,
Ambulance might, is gonna be short, but not very much. Police, we have extra money, and so my thought would be, you don't raise it until you've used your extra money. Over the years, that fund collected about, what's it on your sheet, maybe 140,000, is that right now?
Well,
Fund balance.
They collected a liquor inspection fund that went back to that,
Well, that's-
that was separate and apart from that tax, I believe.
We move that into there.
Right, but I'm saying that's how we collected it. It
Oh,
wasn't
it's
we
in it.
taxed extra.
No.
No, okay.
It was
That's
businesses with liquor licenses paid
all got
extra.
put in there.
when do you think you're gonna have an idea of what piece of property, what piece of property you're gonna go on? I mean, that's a big number, 300,000 would
Property will-
alleviate the problem for a year.
Yeah, property will be longer than the cost of the station. I mean, because we're still looking at 3 sites right now, but, I mean, we kind of zeroed in on one right now that's suitable for the fire department.
Okay, I think our
Probably
our
next-
needs- Good.
Probably within the month, the end of the, the end of the month's coming, probably be another
I don't think you do
another month, 30 days maybe.
Mike?
And what we can do is see what went on at Garfield tonight and get the temperature of that meeting.
Our biggest issue is making up our mind, as Paul suggested, how he stated, can be published. That way we get it out, get it published in a number of days we need, because with this meeting being late, we don't have a lot of extra days.
You know, thinking forward, if we're gonna come to go to the public and say, we're gonna increase taxes in essence for fire and perhaps.
Public safety.
For public
Public
safety. Are we gonna almost give up on trying to do anything, for a township hall? Because, I don't know how you come back with that. I mean, everyone's coming for more taxes. We just heard Larry Inman come in with a hit. We talk about a jail, there'll be a hit. And if you look at real income of people, it's not going up by any stretch. It's going down. It's, it's a bad situation. And I agree, you know, I'll tell you, and I've told you before, it's unconscionable having EMS guys, I don't know if there's fire guys also, sleeping in recliners in that environment. That's
I
unconscionable.
appreciate that. They know.
And the second thing is, I think you guys are extremely professional, very, very good. But it's almost, can we afford that level of number of inspectors and number of whatever? I mean, most we say you want to go thin on fire, but, you know, compared to, I know you can't always benchmark these things fairly, but Peninsula and Blair and some others, I mean, we do a fantastic job here. We're paying a fair amount of money, and you would think it would almost be more leverage with taking 3 townships and putting together like we have with Metro. I think that was a great idea, because you're leveraging your position and your staff's position across the board. So I'm going to have trouble proving that. Now we'll see, and you know, I'm just one vote, but just so.
Before I have you answer, the number we were talking about before, I just want to make sure I'm right, is 2.35 was the top number?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, Kathy, then you. Thank you.
Okay, this is my question, with the millage at the 2.2 mils, and then you have the loss at 232,396. That is sort of an estimated, right? Because things haven't really come together. So the general fund amount coming out of Acme of 43,648 is subject to where that loss comes in. So is there a chance that if this all comes down and it all fits into place as a puzzle and all your numbers come together, there is the potential, okay, because of the estimation of the loss, that Acme and East Bay and Garfield may not be charged these amounts?
Absolutely. Like this year, our budget, we're estimating $46,000 under. So yeah, I mean, through fiscal management, we try to keep those numbers down. We try to get those numbers under that. But that is the worst case.
All go away.
No, absolutely not. I
We're running negative now, as Pat said. You probably will, with additional cost, next year have some negative.
Yeah, I don't see us cutting $232,000 out of the budget next year. But I see us, you know, working and whittling that number down, by all means.
Does that help where you're coming from?
Yeah, because I'm trying, we have a choice, right? 2.35, or we take the 2.2 with the loss.
Go 2.3, you don't have to go 3.5. That was the number, you could go,
Okay.
you could do that.
Heck, you can do whatever.
Right, sorry, Paul. I mean, because if we thought there was more than that to be made
Well, what
up.
we're gonna do is take the millage rate
That's right.
times your taxable value, and that's kind of like the bill we're expecting from you. And that's the revenue that we're expecting from Acme. How you derive that,
Right.
well, Public Act 33 is a great mechanism to charge for public safety.
So what we need to motion tonight is, what do we want that to be? Paul's made one suggestion, that was a motion, Paul.
I'll make that a motion. To publish it as 2.35 is what the township recognizes needed. Metro Fire is asking for 2.2 plus 43,648 paid out of the township's general fund. And we're gonna have a public hearing to discuss that. To determine the right.
Did you say that the township is recommending approval of 2.35?
Recognized. 2.35 is what?
Metro is requested. If you'll say Metro is requesting 2.35, and that's...
A dollar equivalent to.
Yeah, a dollar equivalent to, but not that
Because they've actually requested 2.2 plus the 43,648.
No, right. Well, however those numbers work, my only question was, we were saying on the resolution, we're not approving that we are...
We're recommending.
We're not recommending.
We've recognized that's
Yeah,
what.
Metro is requesting.
Oh,
I agree with that. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, this publication is not an approval, it's just a
Right.
publication of what we're gonna talk about.
Metro Fire is requesting 2 point, whatever you added, the 2.35.
Metro Fire is requesting 2.2 mils plus a township kicker of 43,648. The townships recognize that to be equivalent of 2.35. So we're gonna discuss
Okay.
how we wanna set that.
Good.
Right, that's,
So I said it
I'll vote,
backwards.
okay, I'll vote for that.
Doug is second, right?
Oh,
Up to
okay.
43 or just?
Since we're talking, I don't think we're spending any money yet, we're just putting
We didn't
in
say
the
up to,
paper.
though, and I think up to is
So,
buffer.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait, was there any other discussion? I just want to make sure, okay?
The question of up to 43,648 came up, and that'll be discussed at that meeting.
Public hearing.
Any other question? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you again for your support.
Moving right along. Next item is recommendation on purchase of BS&A for clerk's application. Kathy?
Okay, all board members have received a report and proposal that I put together for the SNA software program. As you read my notes, it's pretty outdated. What I'd like to do in this process is, by studying our procedures, is to make a motion for the software, have a second, at that time have discussion and questions, and then after that, we do the roll call. Is
Well,
everyone?
you're recommending, you have a recommendation attached.
I have a resolution.
Resolution attached.
Attached,
And that's what you're proposing.
and this is what this
That's
is,
what you're proposing.
right, this is what I'm proposing. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read the resolution,
Here were the numbers I was working on.
where Acme
Try to
Township
match them.
currently operates general ledger, accounts payable, payroll, and cash receipts using fund balance software. This software is outdated and has not been updated by the owner, Tyler Technologies. Currently, the Treasurer Department uses BSNA for township tax receiving and assessing. Therefore, it is recommended to replace the outdated software with BSNA in order to better integrate the two departments, provide accurate reports, and improve all-over workflow plus reports in the departments. Whereas the total bid amount for the BSNA software, this includes general ledger, accounts payable, cash receiving, and payroll, is $34,387. Now therefore be it resolved that Acme Township Board make available $15,000 from fund balance forward for year-end 2013-2014, and remaining balance of $19,387 to be budgeted in the 2015-2016 year. Installation would take place estimated July of 2015. Total payment in full is required after installation and live running. So I would make a motion for the purchase of the BSNA software in the order which I proposed. And I believe with the second, then we go into a discussion and questions.
So your motion is to accept this
My motion,
resolution.
yes, my motion is to accept it.
Okay.
Studying the procedure ethics that we've been trying to put together, it is best that you make a motion, you have a second, and then you have discussion with questions, and then you do a roll call. And if everyone's in agreement with that, I'm just trying to institute.
You made the motion, so we now
Okay.
need a second.
Okay,
You
all
don't have
right,
to-
I'll be quiet.
All right. We have a second to that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Amy. Thank you. Now we're open for discussion. let me, if you don't mind, I'll go first and you go second. I think what we're proposing here is, we've looked at this and looked at this. As we replaced our computers for XP with new computers, we have a system today that's outdated, not being supported by Tyler. I can stand up and support that many times. Even through our cut over new computers, we could hardly find anybody to support doing the work we need to do to get on Windows 7. They have taken people off, elected not to support this system as such. So I think what we're really talking about is a technology change. It's not cheap, like any technology change isn't. We have the money. I looked in the budget, and I believe when we're done with all the changes we're lately doing to close the books, not counting what we've already moved already of surplus, which was about 100 and some thousand, we still will have 65 to 70,000 reserve. I guess I'd be right to say out of that budget. So that's the way I see it. It's a technology change. It's just where we need to be. We're not getting very well supported. So that's just my comment.
Okay, I read through this. One question, there's a sentence in here, once the contract is, I'm sorry,
Yeah, where
page,
would that be for you, so I can,
well, these aren't the pages, the second
Sorry.
page of
all
there.
right,
I don't know, who wrote this
I did,
report?
I
Okay,
did,
so,
I put this report together.
okay, you're saying here, on the second page, second paragraph from the bottom,
Once the contract is
yeah,
implemented?
once the contract is implemented, I assume that means the software is implemented. Once the software is implemented, what does that mean?
Okay, if there's a proposal that BSNA gave to us.
Right.
That once this is signed, they have an agreement, an expiration date also. That once this is signed, then therefore we have an agreement.
Okay. What I'm looking for is when are we first gonna pay them? If I read this, it says we don't pay them a dime until it's fully installed.
That's what I was told. I asked them, I said, well, can we make a payment? And, well, of course, but
I would be dumbstruck if they would, I would get that in writing, that when is the money due? For somebody to go in, give you the software, spend the time, their expenses associated with it, do the training, and ask for a dime prior to.
I think that's what we're misreading this. This is, they want a commitment out of us to get us on a schedule.
Fine.
So that's what the first step is. No money, just a commitment to get us on the schedule. Then we pay them money once they start installing and doing the cutover work. Is that,
once it's
am I
up,
saying that
live,
right?
and running.
Well, she's saying once it's up live, you need to find out when money is due. I couldn't find it in here.
I called them.
Okay, I asked them, okay, great.
I called them, and they had said, let's say they could put it installed in April. We would sign a contract of commitment. They would come and they have to study some things. Then they come on site and they do it, and it takes maybe 2 weeks' time. After it's installed, we give them 50%. And then they said 6 months later, but Jay, when I mentioned this to Jay, you said there might be an issue on that. But they said they were flexible in taking the second 50% payment.
All I'm saying is get it in writing.
That would get one payment before June 30th of 2000, Roy,
what we're trying to do is make sure if we appropriate 15,000, whatever it is we're looking for, Gordy, the next money comes out of the next year's budget.
I understand that.
Get it
Where
right.
you're gonna allocate, but as long as we're keeping the cash. My simple question is,
When you pay.
when you buy something, when do you pay for it? And it was very confusing. And the implication that they won't require a dime until it's installed, I never read it first. So just get something to
I
write.
told it to you too.
Right, and I also talked to other townships who have had it, and that's how their procedure went also. So I understand where you're coming from.
They only contract with governmental entities. Yes, ma'am, you can't buy it. If you want to go in there and buy their software, they won't sell it.
No, I understand.
No, but I'm just saying, so what the issue is we're a secure. They see it in our minutes, we've signed a contract, they come in, they install it, we pay them their 50%. I mean, we can get it in writing, but I don't think there's an issue with, that's why they're okay with doing that. That's why they give the additional time to pay too, is because it's not like the private sector where it's in, not paying you.
Gordy makes a point, what we ought to think about here, if we want to do this, we can approve it. We don't have to approve it tonight, do we, or don't we?
Well,
There's a
there is
question
a
on that.
time, there's a time limit because there's a 10% discount on the purchase just of the software, not the installation part, but there is a 10% discount that expires September 1st.
So it's,
Or September 30th.
September 30th, I think I
Right.
read September
I
30th.
mean, and they had extended, there was a discount too, and they extended that.
That was
Yes, they
So,
extended.
does it make sense to amend the motion to say, pending their confirmation in writing, that we pay 50% after installation and the remaining 50% up to 6 months after, at the discretion of the township or something like that? I don't know, Jay, is that, you mentioned from an auditing standpoint.
Well, if you're gonna pay money, I don't, the 15,000 upfront, you can pay out of current money we have up through the end of June next year. If the installation's not gonna start till after that, you can pay the rest on the new budget year. And that's kind of what Gordy's asking. Do we know when those dates are? Can we lock
Yeah,
that down?
I just feel like when you sign a contract, I'd like to know when money is due. That's just as simple as that. Built into the price is $8,500 for service, for training and implementation and all that. Or 10 mandates, it's $850 a day. How comfortable are you, if you put in a proposal, this is what we think it'll take, are you comfortable that that's going to be it, that you're not going to come and say, oops, it'll be here another week or another?
Well, they have support online also.
Okay.
So this, from what I've this is high. The estimate as far as the days, this is adjustable. It may not be this exact amount. It could be lower in certain areas depending on how many days it takes for them to get it up and running.
You're,
Could it be more? It's usually the training. It's
No.
not the installation, I don't
He said-
think. I think it's more the
that's where I'm
training
concerned
side of things.
about.
And that's what he's asking about, the 8,500 right here.
$850 a day.
And training.
is, do you feel, talking to others, like you said you've talked to the installer, do you feel comfortable? Because again, a project like this can get away from you awfully damn quick, and you're halfway into it, and what do? And you gotta fall forward, so you're,
I feel comfortable with this because of their history of, they know what it takes to put this, to install this.
I'm more concerned on our side.
Training.
Training on our side.
Is this adequate number of training for us?
I believe.
For everybody
I
that
feel
needs to
that
be
it is.
trained?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's good.
I'm still not clear, I mean, is this program going to, in a sense, I know it's the old ones, outdated, they aren't gonna, whatever it. This is 35,000 total, roughly, correct?
Yeah.
Is this going to replace the assistant that we've had for a bookkeeping assistant?
No, it's not, this is not an accounting, automatic accounting
I want
program.
to get it clear, because
There's,
that's kind of what I thought it was.
there's adjustments, there's year-end things that need to be done. The outdated software does require extra steps and processes to complete some of the functions that need to be done. This software program that we're looking at right here has a better way of organizing and reporting.
So it's gonna save some time, but it's not gonna eliminate it, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's gonna bring it, this is only my opinion, because I believe it'll bring it down, okay, in my opinion. And I also think, just because, and I can't speak for the general ledger, payroll and all that stuff, I know that their support staff are trained, okay? It's not that they just don't know how the program works, not that they're gonna tell you to do the books, but they give you more than you think when you call them, just even on the treasurer side. You know, if I gotta call them for support for some reason, it's because they're trained treasurers down there, helping you with the support of not only the program, but maybe some of the concepts. So as long as you know, I've got to make a journal entry, I got to make a journal entry for this and this, they're going to be able to talk you through it, where you're not necessarily, now if you don't know you have to make a journal entry, no, they're not going to be able to help you there. But if you know that's what you have to do, yes, they can help you make that adjustment within the system. That is an annual fee you pay, like any software system, that's part of their support system. So, but go ahead.
What does, one of the things, we know fund balance, we know the shortcomings of it.
Sure.
And we've talked to the salespeople and some other people, and I think we know how PSA works. But then you find, you don't know till you don't know what you don't know.
No, right.
A question I would have, and I think we have great use of our consultant. We've got a contract now with a consultant, CPA, experience in this, but I would like to get, what's their thoughts on this? Have they experienced in both fund balance and this product, and do they have a opinion that it'll reduce errors, improve things, give us more information on a timely basis?
I mean, we touched base a little bit. I didn't ask that specific question, but Kathy and I today were working on this cash receipting issue that we have it in our system. We export it to Kathy to try to import it into her system. We're having constant issues, okay? And so we were talking to Connie about this, and so we were talking about BSNA. I said, well, hopefully we'll be able to purchase the BSNA software. I mean, she spoke like it was going to be good, and the same with the reconciliation, because that was another discussion we had. That's where some of the issues are coming in, is that I actually physically reconcile what's been cut, rather than me regenerating, which is what I do. I regenerate Kathy's information, and I reconcile that. This would then give us a better tracking system there, okay? It will help Jay, honestly, in budgetary issues. I mean, doing the budget, the lovely Excel spreadsheets that we get, you don't have to have those anymore because it's all right there. I mean, so there are options. I mean, we can ask Connie. It was not a direct question saying, hey, can you tell us if this is better or not? That was not a direct question that we asked Connie today, but I didn't even think of asking her that, honestly. So.
I guess, I think having a good financial system is first and foremost. And I'm taking and I'll have to admit, the guy I met from Fund Balance that was in here and did a week of training. Anyway, I don't need to go into that. I guess my two biggest concerns is, I'd like to know when we have to pay the money, what are our commitment dates? When we sign the contract, are we absolutely obligated at that time?
We both have verbals on this commitment, and Gordy, I would be more than happy, and I know that Dan, is his name Dan, would be more than happy to put that in a written statement.
Yeah.
He's been very easy to work with and always answering all my questions.
I would think that's something we as the township would want to know. When we sign this thing, we need to know when we are obligated. If to sign it simply means we're put on a schedule, and if 4 months from now,
I think at 12:30 at night, nothing's going to be done. But we still want to change the wording, so it's clear that people can be here in the park.
All we need is a motion at this point to say that we'd like to change this.
I'd like to make a motion that we change the ordinance to have a section where we define the use of Bayside Park to be open for use for parking 24 hours a day, with the exception that the bathrooms will be closed per the no other park regular restrictions. And put something together and identifies that, and then.
Do you have a second to that?
Before we look,
I'll second it. Somebody else.
Good.
before we get too far into this, have you had a chance to look at this, Jeff? I mean, to me, that statement, the township may open gates and facilities at times within its discretion for a trial period, I think fits that. If we clearly state it's a trial period. Yes, no?
I mean, I've always looked at that as park ordinances often do that, like, okay, so you have a triathlon at the park, you know, because the resort must have a triathlon. You make an exception under that for the day, but you're gonna have a lot more difficulty
And the reason I'm
enforcing
asking
the
is
ordinance
this
when
covered under your retainer? To ask you to go in and possibly rewrite a police ordinance, you know what I mean? I just.
Ordinance drafting is separate, and I create open separate file, and go separately for that.
So that's something else we need to consider if we're gonna ask them to start rewriting.
All right, consider.
I'll deny that one. And so that's a concern. I question whether or not the township may open the gates and facilities at times within its discretion wouldn't fit if we did a trial period and flat out stated that's what we were doing. Rather than having to rewrite a whole ordinance and going through, I mean, that's why I asked, but
You know,
save the money. It would be somewhat
Okay,
challenging us, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem, you know, like I said, the idea generally is those are temporary. If there is, I mean, presumably you'll have signage out there, but the purpose of having an ordinance on the books is so that someone can come to the township and say, here's the law, and I know what the law is and what I can and cannot do within the boundaries of the township. With that sort of catch-all that basically swallows, it's the exception that swallows the rule. You could vary the rules in the park, at least for the hours and the parking, on a whim and in whatever way you want, and no one would necessarily know what the actual hours are in any park. So, I mean, if you really want to utilize it and tell me that you don't want me to amend the ordinance, that's your choice. Yeah, you know, generally speaking, I would suggest you amend the ordinance when you're going to change the uses allowed in the park. If you want to draft it yourself, go for it.
That would kind of be like Obamacare.
Sorry.
So, you know.
Well, drafting it yourself is not what I was getting at. What I was getting at is, doesn't that cover, that kind of says for an exception. This is an exception, it's a trial period, that's clearly what we're doing. We're stating that's what we're doing and realistically, to rewrite ordinance, we're talking probably 30 days minimum to get it done back before us and ready to go anyway.
Well, it'll be prepared for your next meeting.
Right, which is in approximately 30 days.
Well, we need a public hearing then.
No public hearings,
But-
just ordinance. You can
But we
draft it.
want the data, if you will, for the rest of the remainder of the season, if you will, which that kind of defeats the purpose, because now you're talking.
Yeah, that's, you're talking after Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's all I was gonna kind of go with.
To vote?
Yeah, I guess that's any other discussion. If not, I mean, I think if we're gonna support it, we ought to write it the way we want it to be written. Support, it's minimum rewriting that'll be done. Then it protects us, because, yeah, I mean, you don't want any legal issues.
Can't do that much.
So, okay,
It's not much, but I guess it's like Paul says, time constraint on it.
It defeats the time constraint.
How much data are you gonna get after Labor Day?
In a month, not much. We don't expect any, actually, we don't expect any, much anyway.
Huh?
We don't expect any negative data anyway. We
I-
expect
no.
positive, but yeah, it's only gonna give you a couple months.
But I guess.
September,
I think
October.
You'd know more in
August,
August than
yeah.
you would.
Yeah, I mean, our
You can
goal
leave it
really-
open in December.
Right.
You won't hear much because I don't think there's too many people sitting on picnic tables.
So if everything goes well, then they'll come back to the board in, what, May? When the
Next spring, probably March.
in March, and ask for another trial?
No.
They'd ask for
No,
the change
no,
in the
no,
ordinance.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
They-
we're changing the ordinance.
They'd say,
Just
it
change
didn't
the
work,
ordinance.
change it back, it did work, leave the
Right.
words at.
Exactly.
That's,
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're changing the ordinance for this part, but if it doesn't work, we'll change it back.
Okay, all right,
That's what we're saying.
okay?
yep, got it.
All in favor of, what I see of supporting this change? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Three of you?
Three,
Passes.
passes, only good. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, Supervisor, that we drop K2, discussion resolution on possible
You already
board
did.
meetings per month. Huh?
No.
He's back already.
He's trying to
okay.
pick from the bottom and get one more.
Do I have a second to that?
K2?
Yeah, I should table it till our next
I'll
meeting.
support that one.
Motion made, seconded.
Bye, everybody.
All in favor of dropping that at this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
I'll move. Next item is junk PCs. All I want is a motion from somebody that we go ahead and junk the PCs. We'll take the hard drives out, make sure they're destroyed. We'll get rid of the PCs through Goodwill, which it can take the rest of the parts.
I don't know that they will, so I
Well,
would
they do
say
now.
that, following e-waste standards that you're able to make, this goes away. I don't know what they are, if they're.
Yeah, we take the hard drive out.
I mean, I don't think computers should just go to a dump, I think there's a way.
No, that's why we give them to Goodwill, because they'll take,
If they'll,
they will.
okay.
They do right
Because I know I took some stuff over there and they wouldn't.
Recently?
Live ammunition.
TVs,
Yeah.
they don't take
Spears.
Well, either Goodwill or there's other
Yeah,
places.
somewhere, I think.
I
that's
just
what
want to get rid of all those we can. and get
Motion to dispose, proper
proper.
disposal of the old computers, ensuring that all data has been destroyed.
Second for that?
Or, which one?
Gentlemen, she was first. Thank you. Next item
Well,
is,
okay, did you pass it?
all in favor,
Of
say
this
aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, thank you, Nancy. Okay. Okay, the next item is new business Hoxie House update. Many of you did, or many of you might not have read in the paper. I'll just read this to you. Almost 2 years of research and fundraising, the Acme Heritage Society has decided not to move the historical house, according to Dave Hoxley, president of the Acme Heritage Society. The figures that were coming in are astronomically high, much more expensive than we originally planned, very costly. The original plan was to move the house to the Grand Traverse Town Center, where the developers had donated a piece of property for the house we placed. That's final recommendation. We get all the code updates done, go to the house, to the general public in order to showcase Acme area history. After further research, a contractor pointed out some serious structural flaws in a floor joist. In his opinion, it would be very costly to repair on top of the already expensive move, and it was very expensive. All the code updates, moving costs, and others would exceed over $300,000, which has made it impossible for the Acme Heritage Society to afford this move. Unfortunately, the Acme Heritage Society has to withdraw from the project. Our intent was to not interfere with the township's deadline to move the house because we have a commitment to the DNR. That's the end of September. The Acme Township Board has been very gracious to allow us the opportunity to make the move possible. Acme Heritage Society would like to thank all the area residents who have donated to the project. Acme Heritage Society is still committed to moving forward with showcasing our local history and will continue to videotape, interview our great senior citizens of the area. Sincerely, Acme Heritage. This is their official announcement. Prior to that announcement, it's unfortunate, they found the mountain was pretty high to climb. They've done a good job. We should thank them for it, but they decided to back off at this time. I had already started bids on disposal in case they couldn't make it happen. We had to be prepared. We talked about that. We as a board put money aside, if you remember, to do that. The gas line has been disconnected at the curb, the meter removed. Sewer's been disconnected to curb already. Electric service has been disconnected already. Well service has been contracted to disconnect it at the pitless adapter so the well will be unhooked and mothball it according properly. We still have to get an asbestos survey on the house just because of the condition of the time.
And once I get those bids back, if there's other bids, then we'll have to come back, probably have to, unless you want to give me an approval now, but come back and to the board for final approval of that bid.
Doesn't that have to be down by, what's the date that
It
that's?
has to be gone by October 1, so I want to get it.
I would
Yes,
suggest,
I'm gonna suggest that we give you the authority to accept the bid, because the house has gotta be down.
I would like to put a cap on it, but I totally
Put a
agree.
cap.
We set aside,
27,000.
10 to 17.
as long as we keep within the 27,000 estimate we've set aside, that we just get it done. We,
If something comes up more than that, I'd have to come back.
yes,
Yeah.
anything more than 27,000, come back to us, otherwise get it done so that we
Now,
meet the DNRs.
Good. Now, before I make that a motion, I want to add one thing to this. So if we can make one motion.
Add and then I'll see.
Huh?
Add and then I'll see.
That's good. No, that's fine. I'm not saying you have to, yeah. We did have requests from some of the people on the Heritage Group to at least, they wanted 4 shutters, mantle of the fireplace, top piece of the staircase, and another piece of carpet or something. My opinion, as long as that does not get in the way of us doing our job to meet our commitment, that's not a problem. But we don't want it open to everybody tearing stuff out of the house and randomly just, I want this, I want this, something reasonable. So it's them, as a society, we would give that approval to.
I'd add that to the motion.
So that's why I'm saying.
Yes, yeah, I got no issue with that.
Anybody?
And I would add to that it's approved by you, authorized by you, so on and so forth.
Based on the email I
Right.
received. If they want 6 shutters, I wouldn't care.
Because if they ask for 6 and realize, oh, we want 7, you should have the authority to say, take the 7th, who cares?
We just want
Yeah.
it not in our way and be,
Yeah.
And it's for
Done by a certain
and
date.
it's for them, it's not
It's
for
for
just the
them, it's
general
not
public.
for
They
selling
need-
it on
So
eBay.
Jeff couldn't call and say, could I get 2 shutters? I don't know you would, but you never know how people
Yeah,
are.
for the historical society's use, not for resale.
That's what I'm proposing. Do you have?
Second.
I guess.
Paul made the motion. Gordy seconded. Because they're spending money, I think there should be a roll call. Nancy?
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
Cinema,
Yes.
Point,
Yep.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That's, I believe, the last we have on our agenda, other than any comment from the board at this time, and then public comment. I'm going to add one item as a comment, so it's real quick. We did receive we applied for 4 grants out of the 2% money this year. We received, one of them we canceled, and that happened to be the Hoxley House in time, not to cause a problem. We received $7,000 for the boat launch at Sailor Park, and we received $15,000 for the Yuba School. So that was decent. Yuba, that's what they asked for. They got exactly what they asked for. And so that's great. Boat launch, we'd like a lot more. We got more to work there, but at least we've got something to work with.
You said we requested 4, what was the third one?
The water, they gave us nothing for
They
the
gave
water.
us not for the water.
I'm understanding that. We haven't spent all we got now. Well, I can see that.
We still
It's a gift. It's always a gift.
Oh,
We ought to
yeah.
look at it that way, in my opinion.
Oh, that's
Be happy.
We're appreciative of the 7,000. We
Yeah.
have 32,500 to go for the boat launch now, so.
What we got to do. Okay, anything from the board otherwise? Anything from the audience? Public comment at this time? Thank you for sticking with us, all of you.
Oh, just a quick comment, something quick. Think about. Rochelle, Acme, Babcock, Acme, Acme. What can I say? Is there any way it could be thought of when you, if the fire department wanted this building as is, and they could gut this and make what they wanted out of it, which gives them another whole space.
They don't want this building.
That's too bad.
I'm serious, because of parking and other issues.
Okay.
It really doesn't.
Okay.
But it does bring up another point, and I'm glad you asked that. The fire department would like to use the Hoxley House, not getting in our way for training. And we've, in other cases, we've allowed that.
Before the demolition.
Yeah, before the demolition. Do we have anybody have a problem with that?
Would that burn the old tree out front?
They don't burn, they don't do
They don't
burn.
ever
It's all on,
It's like smoke machine, it puts smoke, they try to rescue you, figure out how to sneak up through the house.
Is that sensitive?
do we need a motion for it?
I should have brought that up when we talked, I apologize.
Could we raise funds for the view?
Does anybody have any problem
Put
with
them
that?
towards the Parks and Rec?
As long as it does not at all hinder
That's
anything
right.
we have going to getting.
Can't impede our ability to get it out.
Last Thursday.
Or demolish anything
Yes.
that the historical society is
Talking about
requesting.
Well, I'm gonna give them a
We need
date.
to get them in there first,
Yeah,
then the fire department, and then
Okay,
Al Kravitz news.
that's all right?
Not